grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack, 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 Riverboat Jack. That's what I'm talking about. First time singing the songs for Riverboat Jack. Shout out. I don't know what I'm doing really, but I got passion. That's what it's about. It's all about passion. Where she streams all that content is bursting seams, politics, gaming, and plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack, 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 Riverboat Jack.
It's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. Oh, what a beautiful dream. Oh, and he plays pretend. It's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. the sheets. What a beautiful dream.
Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing? Ugh, so hot. Physically. Hey, Catalina Gearbox. Hello, Feistiest Bard. Hello, I'm Idaho. Hello, Hustler. Hello, Gamer G. Hello, Mr. Miyagi. Hello, Transgirl Jade. Hello, Dragonfly. Hello, Horizon. Hello, Methatyahu. Hello, everybody. How we all doing? We are live doing the ultimate midnight, ultimate nightmare hunt rotation of the worst debate. And Elden Ring. Get in the boat. Twitch. God. The word processing on Twitter these days is so bad that like half the time when I try and write a tweet on my phone, it just crashes. I lose the entire draft of my tweet. It just all crashes. I have to do it again. Got your ass kicked by the final Shadow of the Erd Tree boss. Now I'm trying to find crafting books I'm still missing. Nice. That sounds like a good time. How you doing, Transgirl Jade? How you doing, Gamer G? So, folks, I did want to say there's no new Biden news, okay? So he officially did not drop out on Monday. My initial prediction is officially incorrect. Let's see if my secondary prediction of by the end of this week is correct. Hey, John Bogardas, how you doing? You saying get in the boat makes me think of the scene where Chef in Apocalypse Now goes looking for mangoes. The lesson learned was to never get out of the boat. True, never get out of the boat. Also, I've decided that this stream, if you guys get to 40 subs total, all subs count towards the goal, or donos equivalent to a $5 sub. If we hit 40, okay, I have a plan for us, and it's very specifically twofold. Number one, there's a channel called Alex Kister. And 2 weeks ago, he put out a new video called The Mandela Catalog Volume 5. We haven't done analog horror on this channel for a while. Why you ignore YouTube? I don't ignore YouTube. I've said hello to everyone in there except for you, Stinky Mo. Because you kind of got a stinky attitude right now. So, if you hit 40 subs, we'll do the Mandela Catalog, Volume 5. We'll go over that. Here, let me play a trailer for it. I'm sure this will go over well. Living up to the ultimate nightmare blunt rotation vibes. Well, that's not an image you guys can see. Who set up this stream? I'll have to have them fired. There we go. So, in case you guys don't know what the Mandela Catalog is about, it is a horror, analog horror series where it basically, to summarize, Jesus Christ was actually the devil, and human beings live in a world currently being invaded by demons, but basically no one understands that yet. They're just encountering these demonic entities, and it's actually very spooky. It's one of my favorite horror analog series. Here, maybe this one, maybe teaser 2 will help, or teaser number 1.
Well, can't you stay a while longer, darling? You've only just arrived.
I mustn't stay. I just received a phone call.
What's the matter?
My neighbor. He said my lights turned on after I left. I live alone. I'll be back.
Not gonna lie, that shit is too real for me. Yeah. Not gonna lie, it is the spookiest analog horror I've ever seen. This is animated short, properly cursed. Here, also, maybe to give you guys a better idea of what the hell this is, we'll play the very first video. It's 4 minutes long.
Don't be afraid. I bring good news of great joy for you and all people. Tonight, your Savior was born in David's town. He is Christ, the Lord. You will find him wrapped in swaddlecloth, lying in a manger.
And as some people have pointed out, nothing was ever okay again in this video series.
There was a woman named Mary who lived in the city of Nazareth. She was in love with a man named Joseph. Mary was young and a virgin, but she got a very special message from an angel named.
I am the angel Gabriel. I've come to bring good news.
News? For me? Whatever God wants, I will do.
I will fool the shepherds. I will know their greatest fear. I will know your greatest fear. Wake up, Joseph. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake.
I think the newer stuff is better than this. And it's done in live action, which is great.
Do not be afraid, my dear shepherds. I have great news. I am your true savior. I know everything about what makes you human. I know what you love. I know what you dread.
How frozen I became and powerless then. Ask it not, reader, for I write it not, because all language would be insufficient. I did not die, and I alive remained not. Think for thyself now, hast thou aught of wit, what I became, being of both deprived. Hey, Mish. What are we watching? Mandela Catalog Volume 5 dropped. And I'm showing everybody the very first installment of the Mandela Catalog. I'm bound to chains on my ankles. I grow heavier with every step. The infinite amount of sand will be my tomb. And my foolishness will be my legacy. If there is a God, please help me. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys are interested. Maybe like every... Oh, let me take a look real quick. You know what? Yeah, maybe like every 5 subs, we'll play a new video from the Mandela Catalog list. We can start at the beginning. But until we get those 5 next subs, you guys are going to have to hang on, because we're doing the Nightmare Blunt, baby. There's no escaping this. This is happening. That's right, we got Brianna Wu, we got Cenk Uygur, we got Destiny, we got Joe Walsh, and I don't know who this is. I think Wick, maybe?
Within a million miles of good enough. States, which is
effectively a cult. And we'll get into it as we go, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's Wick.
Next up, we have friend of the channel, Brianna Wu. What are your thoughts here?
So, all respect to my good friend Joe, but I think
Yeah, I'm going to put the goal on the screen real quick. There we go. Okay, that doesn't work. Real quick. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Boom, nailed it. Oh, it's so the screen is so busy. All right, there we go. That's good enough. Also, I'm gonna make this small until we get to the analog horror bits. There we go. And I'm gonna play Elden Ring. Oh no, nope, not interested. Sorry, Lady Raincloud. I adore you though, but this is I did not undersell this. This is the real Nightmare Blunt rotation. Who is this? Brianna Wu is one of the worst people in liberal politics. Cenk Uygur, founder of the Young Turks. Destiny, royal piece of shit. And Wick is just hosting the discussion, and then Joe Walsh, I believe, is like a Republican conservative radio host, something like that. Hey, Death died today. The Young Turfs, true.
Something happened with his party is they lost the ability to be able to
wait, is Wick also a piece of shit? I gotta admit, I don't know much about Wick. Joe Walsh. I don't think he's from America's Most Wanted either.
challenge the powers within the party, and as a result of that, the Republican Party basically became a cult. We don't have that culture in the Democratic Party, and I actually think the conversation we're having right now is very, very healthy. It's a sign of a party that is not a cult.
How you doing, Death Died
I know
today?
it's very stressful right now. I've been yelled at all week. I'm sure everyone on this panel has been, but I think it's to our benefit, and I think it's worth remembering. All of us are here for the same reason. We want to beat Donald Trump, and we realize democracy is on the line. There are several things that really give me a lot of concern with this, but I don't feel as strongly as I think my good friend Cenk does. The first is a president that only has 36% approval rating is effectively unelectable in my view. There's not a precedent for this. And even though I understand it's very tricky, especially the compliance things with getting the money shifted around and building campaign offices and getting canvassing operations, I really don't see another good option at this point. As Joe said, the problem is Biden's health is going to dominate the news cycle from here on out. And every second we're talking about that, we're not talking about the existential threat that Donald Trump is to democracy. So, I feel like our odds are slightly better if we change candidates, but my mind could be changed.
Okay, we'll get into it as we go. Thank you for being here. Cenk Uygur, please, what do you got?
Yeah, this is the easiest decision of all time. He's at 36% approval. When he won last time in 2020, remember, he barely won the Electoral College by about 44,000 votes in 3 swing states, which is just a microscopic lead. And at that point, he had a 52% approval rating. Now he's at 36. I did the math on it. That's a 16-point difference. So the folks who look at the interview from last night and go, well, he survived. He answered the questions. That's not within a million miles of good enough. Yeah. He has to make up a 16-point deficit in that regard. And guys,
yeah, Dragonfly,
if you follow politics, an incumbent under...
This is very much a position of like, oh man, the worst person just said something you agree with or whatever. Like, Brianna Wu is terrible, and I dislike her immensely. This is a correct point. I do think Biden should drop out. I also think Cenk is correct. Biden should drop out. Brianna Wu is an objectively horrible piece of shit. I don't know what the hell is going on with Cenk. I think he's just like really loud and misguided and weirdly brash for being someone who's not terribly progressive. But, whatever.
50% is very likely to lose. Biden is under 40%. To my knowledge, no federal candidate in U.S. history that's an incumbent in an election year has ever won when they're in the 30s. So the opposition, I guess, that wants Biden to stay in, their main argument is Joe Biden is the most miraculous politician that anyone has ever seen. And he's going to rise from the ashes and not just stay stable, but make up 16 points in approval rate. It's just la-la land. It's total fantasy land. This is look, we're having fun here to debate a thing that should not be debated, partly because mainstream media and the Democratic Party has created this mirage. And so we have to spend time tearing down this theater that's been constructed that is nothing but propaganda. It's been propaganda from day one. He's been disastrously behind. The debate only made it worse and made it more obvious. But if you want to run a race saying, oh, yeah, I think that guy who looks like a cadaver is going to make the greatest comeback in American political history, you're basically saying, I don't mind Trump winning at all. I'm totally good with it. I just don't want to offend the feelings of the powerful. And that's really not a sound argument, to say the least. I'll be polite.
Okay. Well, thanks for that, and I'm sure we'll get into it as we go. Last but certainly not least, Destiny. What do you have?
I think that there are two competing outlooks that we should keep in mind. We're not competing, but concurrent outlooks that we should keep in mind when we're thinking about who we want to be the Democratic nominee. For the first part, I think that it's important that we pick our strongest candidate. I hope, I'm not sure, but I hope that everybody here agrees with that we should put forth the strongest candidate who can mobilize the most votes for the Democratic Party. And right now, for reasons we'll get into, I think that, for better or for worse, is still Joe Biden. I also think it's important to keep in mind that when we criticize our party, or when we criticize our candidates, I think that the only criticism that really matters are from people that support the party. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of voices, I believe Cenk is one of them, I'm not as sure about Joe Walsh, who are highly critical of Biden because of his debate performance, but before the debate performance, they were never going to vote for Biden anyway because of his position on Israel or Gaza or lack of, whatever, minimum wage or social.
Oh man, Destiny is a real piece of shit, but I usually give him credit for having decently thought out points. But like, Cenk is gonna vote for Biden. Brianna Wu is probably gonna wind up voting for Biden. I don't know, but like, I don't know. This would work a lot better if you were debating like anti-electoralists or people who are definitely voting for RFK Jr. or something. Midas, thank you for saying I look cute. I feel very uncute today, so thank you.
Socialized healthcare or whatever other reason. So when you have people that are highly critical of these people, it's important to know that in their mind, their best interest isn't for the party, it's for whatever particular candidate that they like, which is why when we have these conversations, it's very hard to get somebody to put forth another candidate that they think would be able to outperform Biden for a variety of reasons we'll get into.
Okay, I guess we'll start with that. For the people who say that Joe Biden should drop out of the race, who do you think should replace Joe Biden? Who do you have in mind? Go ahead.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we should start with Destiny again, because he apparently wants Trump to win. Because only a person so detached from reality would look at Biden and go, that's our strongest candidate. So I don't know where your allegiances lie. I mean, you just questioned our allegiances. So I desperately want Trump to lose. We all do. He's a maniac, total, utter maniac. But by the way, the clowns you support lost to him in 2016 and are getting humiliated by him in 2024. So where's your allegiance? It seems to me that look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it almost feels like a false flag operation to say anyone who wants the strongest candidate for the Democratic Party is with Trump. Wink, wink. We should have the weakest possible candidate against Trump. Boy, I really want Trump to lose. Wink, wink. No, of course you should have the strongest candidate. How is this a debate? And if you think Joe Biden's the strongest candidate the Democratic Party has, you apparently despise the Democratic Party. You think even less of them than any Republican in the country. Are you telling me there's no one better than a guy who can't finish a sentence? This is preposterous.
So a few things. So, I mean, if you want to talk about the jokes that we put up in 2016, I would awkwardly remind you that Hillary Clinton was beating Trump polling initially, which is the thing that you're weighing in heavily now is how they're doing the polls. And secondly, she had a phenomenal debate performance against Donald Trump, something that didn't help her whatsoever when it came time to defeating him in the election. So, and these seem to be two things that you're weighing very heavily in choosing Biden or not. But to go back on the thing about supporting Biden, well, was it not the case that prior to this debate, you didn't want to support Biden anyway? Like, would you have voted for Biden over Trump prior to the debate?
I would never vote for Trump in a million years.
I didn't ask you to vote for Trump. I said, would you have voted for Biden? I asked, would you vote for Biden prior to this debate performance over Trump? Would you have voted for Biden?
So I think, Destiny, I've been super clear. I ran against Biden. I think Biden's a terrible candidate. And I knew that, and you gaslit your audience the whole way. Oh, yeah, he could win in the 30s. He could win. He could win.
I still didn't hear an answer to that.
You have to bow your head and obey the officials in the Democratic Party. Who cares about beating Trump? Let's just obey. I
do want to make
Hillary Clinton. You want to talk about Hillary Clinton in the polls? Hillary Clinton did not have a 5-point lead. This is what I'm trying to get through your thick skull. The Democratic candidate needs a 5-point lead nationally in order to win the Electoral College. So when Joe Biden's down by 6 in the New York Times poll, he's down by 11. He's got to make up 11 points in that. There's no way he can do that.
Okay, is it? Can I appeal to the moderator? Wait, I want to do a moderator appeal. Can you make him answer that question?
Yes, I can. However, I do want to hear from some other people who've been trying to get in.
But also, I just want an easy yes or no. Would you have voted for him? That should be easy yes or no. It's a thing. Would you?
Yeah, if it's between Biden and Trump, and those were my only two options, of course I was going to vote for Biden against Trump.
Thank you.
Of course.
Great. Cool. Okay.
And
Joe, please.
Let me jump in real quick. Just speaking for myself, I'm not a Democrat. I'm a never Trumper. I would vote for Joe Biden if Joe Biden were 151 years old and couldn't get out of bed if he were running against Donald Trump. If Joe Biden stays the nominee, I'm going to run through a fucking wall to help get Joe Biden elected. Destiny, that's where I am, and that's where I've always been. All I'm interested in is, and this is a difficult spot, let's be real, because Democratic voters in a primary process selected him. I believe in that process. I'm appealing to Joe Biden because I think it's clear Joe Biden had only one issue he had to prove. He had one problem. Is he too old for this job? And if he could prove he wasn't too old, I think Biden would beat Trump. He didn't prove that the other night. In fact, he failed. So my fear now is he can't beat Trump. And so I'm appealing to him to step down and hand it to Kamala Harris, and away we go.
Yeah, and Stephen, this is a question I want to ask you, because I really respect your opinion, and like maybe you have a better answer for this than one I've been able to come up with. You know, we're not just talking, we're almost talking about two questions here. It's like, who can beat Donald Trump? But the other question is like, someone actually has to be president. And something that's happened since the debate is we've seen a lot of clips of Biden back in 2020. He is markedly worse today than he was 4 years ago. You know, here are the situations we have. It's not just Israel. There's a very good chance China is going to attack Taiwan in the next year or two. You have the Middle East that's
based on what? I'm sorry, like based on there's a very good chance that China's gonna declare world war next year. Like in the next year, you believe that? If China declares war on Taiwan, regardless of who's president, we have a nuclear war. Like that's what happens. I just...
still destabilizing. And, you know, Biden, to his credit, has talked about his work bringing together coalitions in the international community, which requires a lot of travel. Can you genuinely say you're confident Biden will be able to do the job of president 4 years from now? Because I can't. And I look at my Twitter and me questioning Trump's mental fitness for his entire presidency. I have to apply that same standard to Biden, and I'm just honestly finding it very lacking.
So if we were running 2024 Biden against 2020 Biden, I would vote for 2020 Biden every time, but we're not. It's Biden versus Trump, and then the question is, who's the best candidate that we can put up versus Trump? For questions of what happened after the election, if Biden wins, and for some reason he has so much cognitive decline that he can't run the country, I guess I would hope that he would step down, or somebody would, you know, do an amendment challenge to remove him from office, but that's not really the question before us right now.
I agree.
The interesting question is, from all the people, also to be clear, I don't have, for some reason, I don't know why Chink phrases this way, like a fear of power or a deference to the institution of the DNC. I don't really care about any of these things. The challenge is which candidate do you put up that we're in very uncharted territory when we talk about swapping candidates this close to the election. And I think that people are a little bit too reliant on, they'll find a good poll and they'll be like, oh my God, we could run, Kamala Harris or Michelle Obama or, whoever else. And it's like, man, there were polls that had, Hillary Clinton up like almost 15 points after the last debate that she did with Trump. And then, I mean, need I remind anybody that you have these shining star governors, okay, Cuomo, DeSantis, who are like, like, oh, these are going to be like the new guard of the parties. And these people, Cuomo was destroyed almost immediately by scandals from his past. And DeSantis was destroyed as soon as he opened his mouth to talk to a potential voter. So the only thing that scares me is when people are so quick and keen to, you know, put another candidate out there. It's like, man, this is an untested candidate in a national field for the most important election ever. And the only thing we're going to hear about for the next 3 months are anything this person's done wrong. That's just a really scary world for me to be in. Maybe even more scary than a bad Biden debate performance.
Responses.
And by the way, just quickly, Brianna, I appreciate your point about Biden being able to actually govern if he were elected for another 4 years. But I agree with Destiny on this point. I don't give a damn about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of like saber rattling in China about Taiwan, but it's not like on the verge. Like, guys, in order to do a full scale invasion of Taiwan, you need to like a full mobilization of like China's military, and that's going to be something that's going to take months to do. Like, we're going to have so much warning, it's ridiculous. Who is she? She is the head of Rebellion PAC, I believe. She and Cenk have like a super PAC together, my understanding. And she also, we crossed paths when I worked at PV last year. And so I know her personally and professionally, and I dislike her on both accounts. And also, she has the worst Twitter account you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. All I care about is who can beat Trump and keep Trump out of the White House. If Biden beat him and Biden stayed in the White House and he could only be president for a year, well then, heck, he has a vice president who will become president. I don't care about that. I care only about keeping Trump out of the White House.
Okay, I want to pass it to Cenk. I'm sorry, Cenk. He has some things to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. 80% of the country thinks that Joe Biden is not mentally healthy enough to serve. You're going to run that guy? Do you know what that means? That means 8 out of 10 people in America think that his brain is not functioning well enough to be president. To think that that's our strongest candidate is just mental.
Can I ask?
Totally, utterly mental.
Sure.
I mean, it's an alternate reality. It's blue MAGA. It's blue MAGA on steroids. 8 out of 10 Americans think that his brain isn't working. I mean, and we're going to run that guy? Why don't you just say, I love Trump and I want Trump to win? Because that's what Trump's saying. That's what MAGA's saying. Go look at social media. They're like, please keep Biden in. I'm begging you, keep Biden in. So it's this idea of devil we know versus devil we don't know. But look at this conversation you guys are having. So, like, can Biden finish 4 years? And you guys are saying, who cares? But you're not going to win an election by saying, yeah, our guy probably can't even finish 4 years. But who cares? Vote for him anyway. That is not a winning strategy. That is an obviously disastrous strategy. I cannot believe
lower
that
right
anyone's
is
making
Wick,
that point.
Paladin.
Guys, think about the convention. If Joe Biden's still a candidate by then,
Wick is just hosting it. He is the conduit by which all of these terrible people reach us.
when they chant 4 more years, everybody's going to be embarrassed. The Biden team's going to be like,
it's not surprising she
you're
and Cenk
reminding
together
everybody that we have 4
oh,
more
she
years
has
with
a
this guy.
Hatred.
There's
of,
no
like,
chance
non-binary
in the
people.
world that America is going to put in a guy into the Oval Office when they don't think his brain is working.
So
I mean,
who's the alternative?
It's already over. Let's pack it up.
Who's the alternative then?
Easy.
Oh, that's easy. So
That's easy.
Let me explain. So yeah, it is. It's easy on 2 fronts. Number one, this whole fear mongering about, hey, what if the other guy is even worse than a guy whose brain doesn't function? You don't think there's a single person in the Democratic Party who has a brain that's functioning? Of course there is. Of course there is. Okay, so now the process. The process is just like it's always been until 1972. The delegates go and they vote in an open convention. What's the big deal? Oh my God, hold on. It'll be a mess. Mess how? Oh my God, you'll have the whole country listening to a bunch of Democratic politicians defend Democratic policies and get billions of dollars in free media to Democratic politicians and Democratic policies. How is that bad? It's terrific.
Sure.
So we should have another primary?
Last thing on that. So once you go through that
Oh,
process,
I
the
see.
person
When I
who won
crit
the
it,
most number of
it gets me
delegates
closer to killing the second one.
is likely to be
That's
your
fine.
strongest candidate. That's the whole point of the convention process. So why don't we go with the strongest instead of the weakest?
So if
These are relatively easy things to decide.
If I may interrogate that for a moment, Cenk, when you say that the convention should decide, do you not fear or worry that that will be seen as an undemocratic process where the DNC elites are just simply picking who they want, anointing them?
No. Go ahead, Cenk. That's the very definition of how these parties work. Remember, none of this happens if Joe Biden doesn't say, I'm not running. If Joe Biden says, I'm no longer running, then there's a process to pick a nominee.
But don't you worry, to Walsh real quick, Congressman. Back in '76, Reagan made a challenge on the convention floor, despite the person not running, right? So do you not worry that even if Biden says, I'm still going to run, that there won't be some challenges from contenders during the convention?
Oh, if Biden says he's going to run?
Yes, I'm still running.
No.
You don't think anyone will challenge him?
No, I believe if Biden stays in, there will be zero challenge at the convention. And by the way, if Biden steps down, hopefully, I think, as Cenk said, there will be a raucous, divisive convention. But my God, we live in fucking unprecedented times.
Man.
This is exciting. We're going through.
Also, hey, Tipster, how you doing? Oh, it's Woo? Yeah. And Cenk and Destiny. It's like a who's who. Why does Joe Walsh sound so terrible? He looks like he's doing very poorly, but I attributed that to his camera. So, nobody's going to put someone in, sir, if they don't think. Yeah, he's on the phones. Also, again, just for those of you who've trickled in, every 5 subs, we're watching an analog horror from Alex Kister. We're moving our way through the Mandela catalog. See Woo schmoozing up the drama tubers lately? No, but I'm not surprised.
Through something. I mean, embrace this. It's different.
I hope that if I kill the second version, it's done.
And I'll pass it to the rest.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys. First of all these things about like, back in '76, Reagan hurt the chances of the party, and Kennedy hurt the chances of the party when he ran against Carter, and all this nonsense, right? Okay, so wait a minute. Were they running against a guy that 8 out of 10 Americans thought that person's brain had stopped functioning? Of course not. It's like that Fleischman clown that's going around. I predict I have the 13 points. Yeah, but brother, the 14th point is the guy's mind working or not? 8 out of 10. It doesn't. And guys, it doesn't matter what we think on this panel. The jury's in. 8 out of 10 Americans say not mentally healthy enough. Good night, Irene. It's already over. So the only question is can the Democrats miraculously resuscitate a campaign to give Trump a challenge? And the way to do that is already built into the process of the convention. And this whole idea that, it'll be divisive.
At least Cenk is being like... At the very least, Cenk is being consistent in his stance throughout this election cycle. Otherwise, he'd be yo-yoing around. At the beginning of this, it would be viewed as like a betrayal of his past positions. I don't know. I feel like Cenk has fallen off pretty hard. Oh yeah, Amber Brains, we covered that trigonometry podcast interview. That was delightfully terrible.
So what?
That's great. That's great.
So you're going to have different Democrats saying, hey, I want higher wages. No, I want higher wages for the average American. No, I want tons of health care for the average American. No, I want universal health care. These are all great things. I mean, look at 2016. One last thing. Look at 2016 when the Republicans had a mess and it was super chaotic and they were talking about penis size and all this craziness. And they won. And they won.
And look, I'm the only, I think, former Republican on the panel. I was a Republican congressman, a Republican candidate for president.
Really?
I was a Republican for my whole life. My former political party has become a cult, right? Like they don't. There is never any public questioning of the fitness of their leader. I think what the Democratic Party is going through right now is healthy. And if they went through a really raucous convention, if Biden stepped down, that would be healthy. But I need to back up for just a second because, Destiny, I want to I want to understand and appreciate why at this point you still think Biden would be the strongest candidate. Help me with that.
I mean, he can run on his record. If we have a new candidate that's in, you have no record that you can run up on anymore. He beat Trump once in an election. How relevant that is to the next one is, I guess it's hard to say. But those are two things that are now completely tossed if you start running a new candidate. Another factor is that, you know, Jen keeps saying over and over again, like 8 out of 10. What? Yeah. Or real quick, Jen keeps saying like 8 out of 10 Americans don't think that, you know, his brain is working, blah, blah, blah. That's fine, but the polls don't reflect that. I mean, look at the popularity that Donald Trump enjoys, and they don't even care if his brain is working or not, right? We're told over and over again to take him seriously, not literally. Like they make excuses for him not even be able to speak, which, you know, he stumbles through a ton. So yeah, again, I'm not like allegiant to Biden, but the idea of just throwing a whole new candidate up and the idea like, oh no, the primary process will produce something so good and we'll all unite around that candidate in a big kumbaya afterwards. I totally don't see that happening.
So can I jump in on that? Because I agree with Stephen on multiple points here. The compliance stuff is something we are really not examining enough. You know, Joe, you know this better than anyone here. You know, all those donations, they could go to Kamala Harris. But, you know, even if Biden starts a super PAC, you know, it can't coordinate with campaigns. So, you know, Stephen, you know better than anyone, the individual can go out there, get the data, run your own canvassing operation. But I think it will obviously be diminished if it cannot coordinate, right? It can put out ads, it can do all that stuff. That's going to be difficult. Another thing that I think, respectfully, Cenk, you're discounting a little bit is the media has not really dug in on any of these other candidates that we have and really vetted them. And every single one of them has some liabilities that we need to think about. You know, as far as Gavin Newsom, who's married to Kimberly Guilfoyle, I don't even want to imagine what stuff is going to come out with that. You know, Kamala Harris, the right-wing media has decided she's kind of this dim-witted aunt, you know, once they go into full attack mode on her, you know, is going to be a white supremacist running against a black woman. Right. Yeah, you look at Raphael Warnock, you know, there's some stuff there they can go after. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea necessarily. I'm saying as we're figuring out our calculus of who is the strongest candidate, it is just simply true that we know where the bottom is with Biden, and I'm less certain of where that is with these other candidates. And that money challenge is it's not a minor thing. So what I need to see moving forward is I need to see Biden with his head less stuck in the sand with a credible plan to turn around this huge deficit that he's got, because on the course we're on, he's not going to win. And if we keep this playbook that he was using last night, we're going to fail. And it's not just Biden that's going to fail. We're going to lose Senate Democrats. We're going to lose the House. We're going to lose local races. But I also need to see, if we do replace him, I need to see a credible plan to bring up that fundraising, build new field offices. Like whatever we do, we need to figure it out quick.
I actually think, and Cenk and I may disagree on this, I think Kamala Harris would have to be the nominee. And by the way, Brianna, Kamala Harris would get all of that money. Let's remember something. It's not the Joe Biden re-election campaign.
That's right.
This is the Biden-Harris re-election campaign.
Sure.
If the president of the United States says, I can't do it, I won't do it, Biden picked her 4 years ago. Biden was going to be the bridge. Biden has to embrace her and endorse her. And in a weird way, maybe I'm shooting my own argument here, Destiny. I really don't believe it. It almost doesn't matter who the Democratic nominee is. I believe there are more people in this country who oppose Trump than support him. So in a way, I think if you put Kamala Harris up there, I think this coalition of Tea Party never Trumpers like me all the way to progressives, I think we're going to get enthused and we're all going to get behind who that candidate is.
It's all good. Look, I'll let
As
the
a quick
bills.
thing on that, I actually think I agree with you. You know, like famously people refer to polling where if you have a generic Democrat versus Trump, he outpolls everybody until you start putting names in. If you could find me somewhere in the country a Democrat who steps out of a clone machine, who is 50 years old with absolutely no history on planet Earth, and then he runs and there's nothing to dig into, then I'd say, you know what, maybe we run that guy. But it's just, even if there are like minor scandals or minor issues, I could just see people fixating so heavily because we only have a few months to the election on whatever thing comes up, and that becomes the new talking point. So in my mind, Biden is essentially that generic guy to some extent. He just has to not be buried by the cognitive decline. But other than that, like his incumbency, his record, like these things are so strong, and the fact that he's already beaten Trump in an election one time before are strong things to lean on, you know.
Right, but that's why, and then I'll give it to Cenk. That's why Cenk's point is so important. Biden's problem now is he's unfit. So many Americans now believe because of his age, he's unfit. This campaign has to be Trump's unfitness. Biden almost now has negated that, and I don't see how he gets it back. That's not just he's got one skeleton in his closet or he's bad on an issue. This is like humongous, and I don't know how he gets over it.
I'm going to give it to Cenk real quick, but after I do, I have a question both for Destiny and for the other side here. So, Cenk, if you have some responses to what's been said, I'm going to give you the floor, but then I want to be able to ask my question, maybe move this along a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a lot of responses. So first of all, I want to double down on what Brianna said on the dangers here. At this point, it would be a landslide win for Donald Trump. He's into the non-swing states. You know, the poll that the Democrats accidentally leaked shows Biden losing 3 non-swing states and in the danger of losing 6 non-swing states. So down ballot will be disastrous. That's why Congress is panicking as we speak now. So if things go as they are, the Democrats will hand Trump Congress easily, all of Congress, and a mandate. There is no scenario that is worse than that. So right now, we're at a 0. We can only go up. So I need people to stop believing in the hypnosis that Joe Biden has any chance of winning. Because if you think that he has a 45% chance of winning, oh my God, I'm a little worried he's off by 5%, you're gonna make the wrong decision. He has a near 0% chance of winning. So Destiny, you say, hey, 80% of the country, you acknowledge that he thinks they are worried about his mental health, but you say it's not showing up in the polls. But brother, it is. Because as you guys are showing here, now I think at least 2 people, maybe 4, up to 4 or 5 people on this call have said that, hey, if Biden is like brain dead, you'd still rather vote for him. Well, that speaks for at least a third of the country. So where the election is being held is with independents that are in the middle. And Biden has now lost way too many of them. He's not going to lose blue MAGA. Trump's not going to lose red MAGA. But there's a big number in the middle, and now they have swung massively towards Trump in a way that is unrecoverable. That is why, in effect, he's down by 11 in the New York Times poll, and his favorability is so disastrous. Again, it's literally never been done before by an incumbent to come back from this far behind. So when you talk about vetting the candidates, look, I'm not Pollyannish. Will there be things that come up? Of course, but that's very, very normal politics. So I don't, for example, Kamala Harris, I don't think she's a good candidate at all. I think the idea of anointing her is preposterous. So you're right, Joe, I don't agree with that at all. But on the other hand, if she wins in an open convention, and she would be the favorite to win in an open convention since she's part of the Biden-Harris team, then she earned it, and it makes her stronger. It makes her more credible. So we should go through the process that exists instead of doing the same mistake the Democratic Party does every single time. We are anointing a leader because we are geniuses. At the DNC, we're super smart. We're the ones who picked Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden in 2020.
Hold on, wait. Can you justify that? What do you mean? You keep saying anointing a leader. Hillary Clinton won the primary. Joe Biden won the primary. What is the anointment we're talking about?
Yeah, so easy to answer. In 2016, the DNC doesn't say, hey, I'm not, although in 2024 they did, and I'll get to that in a second. Hey, I'm not having an election. Instead they do things like, oh, let's plan the smallest number of debates. Morons. You gave up hundreds of millions of dollars in free media coverage. The Republicans swooped in and had a ton of debates, got all that free media coverage and used it to win. And they put the debates up against football games late at night, etc. So that's a small part of it. Another part of it is that they laundered money, and this is a proven fact, through the state parties. The giant rich donors basically cheated and got the money to go to the DNC and then to the, not the DNC, but the Democratic state parties, and then go to Hillary Clinton. That was favoring one candidate over another. And of course, we're not even talking about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, which is mainstream media. Corporate media loves corporate Democrats like Biden and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I don't like none of this. Yeah, this is all, just to be clear, this is all.
Okay,
hold on, one at a time.
Let me answer the question.
Answer the question, but then we gotta get to the rest,
Yeah, I get it. You guys think, oh, the DNC cheating for corporate Democrats is great. It's wonderful. Wonderful. They should tilt on scale. Yeah, lead on the scale. We don't want a populist who's had a 12-point lead against Donald Trump.
Close.
We don't want to win because you know that they think that an economic populist is way more dangerous.
Who's the economic populist with a 12-point lead to Donald Trump?
Well, in 2024, what did they do? I know because I was in the primary. They're like, oh, the Florida primary canceled. Biden is unilaterally the candidate from Florida. In North Carolina and Tennessee, there's a sitting U.S. congressman in the primary. They're like, yeah, I don't care. We're not going to put anyone on the ballot because they cheat in every way. They hate democracy.
Okay.
And it's so ironic that their tagline for this election is protect democracy, as the DNC has stomped it out everywhere they could find it. And that is why they pick loser, super weak candidates, because they do this dumbass anointing instead of just having a fair contest where everybody can vote and have a fair shot at it.
Jake, just real quick, do you throw your name in the ring when it comes to the Democratic convention?
No.
So
That's a really important question.
Wait, am I able to respond to my simple question that he answered?
Can I ask the question? So the reason I ran in the primary was because I accurately assessed that Joe Biden had no chance of winning. By the way, I await apologies for all the people who were wrong and said, oh, no, you're ridiculous. Joe Biden has a great chance of winning. Oops. Okay. So I ran desperately to get someone else in the race. I said it on the first day that I announced my campaign, and I said it throughout. Let's go. If we could somehow rattle this race enough, the Democratic governors will come in. Look at Andy Beshear. He's sitting in Kentucky. In Kentucky, he won twice. He has a really good track record. Shapiro has a good track record in Pennsylvania. Whitmer would almost get...
Shapiro, no, the first two people he's talking about have no shot at a convention. It really comes down to Whitmer, Newsom, and Pritzker.
Guarantee Michigan. Why don't we take a much higher chance of beating Donald Trump instead of a 0% chance of beating Donald Trump?
Okay, I want to pass it to Destiny. He said he wanted to answer.
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have asked that question. My bad. So it is a democratic process that turns out our candidates, and that's where these candidates have come from. I think that people speak in thinly veiled, unhappy tones about who the candidate is because they prefer their particular populist or their particular progressive, because they think if we just put him on the general, even though he gets destroyed in the primary, somehow he's going to win the general election. And if you look at these hypothetical polls where they put up a candidate who has not even been nationally tested against the current guy who's on the other ballot, he would have won a ton, but that's just not true. If we're going to talk about an anointing process, and we're going to say that Hillary Clinton was the one who was chosen, why did Obama beat her? Obama, unless Obama magically became the anointed candidate in 2008, but in that case, why couldn't Bernie Sanders have become the anointed candidate when voters started to prefer him? It's because progressives and popupists are not popular on the Democratic side. Thank God. Okay, they are not popular on the Democratic side. And also the idea of somebody talking, about like, oh, these candidates are, the Democratic Party is stealing the election because they're not willing to primary their own candidate. I'm sorry, where were the Republicans' primaries against Donald Trump when he was running for re-election? You just don't primary your candidate. There's nothing undemocratic about that. And deciding when you want to hold debates and not, taking seriously every single, 1 percentage point polling candidate seriously and hosting debates and wasting money.
I don't know why it's buffering. I can't fix it right now.
And wasting airtime and coverage and all this stuff is just not feasible. Like, the parties want to win. They should want to win. We want them to win if you support the party, or at least what the party stands for. So all All of that makes sense. None of that is undemocratic. Nothing was undemocratic about Bernie or any populist losing the elections. These are the results that our system, for better or for worse, have given us in as democratic a manner as they could reasonably do.
Yeah, just to be clear, nobody's pulling a MAGA and saying they cheated on the votes. Nobody cheated on the votes, okay? But not acknowledging the fact that mainstream media, in other words, corporate media, absolutely loves Hillary Clinton. They loved Joe Biden until a week ago. They loved Barack Obama, and they despise every progressive. Why? Because we're against corporate power. Wow,
it's because really they're not popular. Wow, mainstream media likes popular candidates? That's unbelievable.
No. Mainstream media loves corporate politicians like you do. You think that corporate donations are awesome and we should live under corporate rule. Yay, right? But the reality is that's how they skew the voting base. And they get older people who watch cable news to go, oh my God, they said Bernie Sanders is going to lose, even though Bernie Sanders has a much bigger lead against Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton did in every poll for a year straight. Mainstream media 100% lied about that to make sure that Hillary Clinton won. Okay. And then you go, oh yeah, that's a fair contest when we have the entire media on our side. Sure, you can pretend anything you like.
Okay.
The entire media was against Donald Trump, and he still won his election. So, I mean, like, what is it? Does the media, pick the candidate, or is it sometimes they help, and sometimes they hurt him, but trying to hurt? Like,
look at your arguments. You said, so we acknowledge 2016 Republicans had a chaotic, total mess of a primary, and they won. And you said, but look, they didn't primary Donald Trump in 2020. You're right, and they lost.
And they didn't have a chaotic mess of a primary. Wait, how did they have a chaotic mess of a primary in 2016?
Down the primary.
They didn't have a chaotic. They did not have a chaotic primary. They followed the process. They did it. There was a lot of crazy shit said.
You thought the Republican primaries were just normal?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they say crazy shit. Welcome. A primary is supposed to be divisive. Excuse me. Do you remember Obama versus Hillary? You don't think that primary was one of the most divisive of all time? What are you talking about? Yes.
And we won. Destiny, you're making my point for me.
There might be a third
I don't know if you know what your point is.
Hold on. Every time we have a mess of a primary that's contested and that's relatively fair, that side wins. Literally every time.
Okay, I want to rein this in a little bit, bring this back to the topic at hand. Just
can I jump in quick?
Really quick, but I do have some
questions. Back. Go ahead, Brianna.
This brings me to a really good point that I want to talk about with this, which is I think it's a risk that all of us are kind of underestimating, right? Which is this is going to be so divisive for the party if we do this, no matter which way it goes. You've got, so if it goes to an open convention and Harris doesn't win, you're going to have the people that are really mega supporters of her in the Black community, which is the backbone of the Democratic Party. They are going to feel slighted. There are people out there, and Joe, I'm sure you've got them in your mentions. I'm sure they're texting you. I'm sure you've got friends calling you too, going, I thought you were smarter than this. Why are you betraying Biden? Like, there are people that are going to be end of the world with Biden, and it is going to open up some serious rifts. So something I'm genuinely struggling with is this is not a time that we need another inter-party fight.
Yeah, I had
a
lot
of hope. We need to pick a direction and get 100% behind that. So, can you at least, Jank, can you acknowledge that that's a risk of opening up this huge risk?
No. Not 1%. Jank, I'll set you up. Brianna, I love you. It's an opportunity. Look, we are living in a populist moment. We've been in a populist moment now for 8 or 9 years. Voters across the board are pissed off. Biden steps down, there's a fight, and you have a divisive convention. That's perfect for this moment. Voters want shit like this now.
I don't think
They don't want the status quo. Democrats have given, I agree with Cenk on this, Democrats have given voters the status quo.
I hope you're having a good night too, Hellsayback.
Because Trump was such a fucking madman. But you're not going to beat Trump this year with status quo. And if Biden stays in and tries to limp to the finish, that's status quo.
So yeah, if I may just interject with a question for both you, Joe, and you, Cenk, right? How come the polls at least aren't reflecting this narrative that you're spinning? So Bloomberg reported on a poll that was released just today, where 60% of Democratic voters want Joe Biden to remain the candidate. He also shows trending in most swing states are trending back towards Biden. So where's the disconnect? Explain to me why we are not seeing the narrative that you're spinning in the data that I'm looking at.
Okay, no, that's a crazy framing of that question. Every poll shows Biden losing, and losing by a lot. You're talking about a poll that came out this morning saying, oh, he stopped the bleeding. He's down in every swing state, but it's not as bad as it was right before.
Well, no, he's
the
up in
debate.
Michigan. He's up in Wisconsin in this poll.
Okay, no, my bad. You're right. I just looked at it a second ago.
Yeah.
You're right. Michigan and Wisconsin, he's up. He's still losing in enough swing states. He's losing Pennsylvania by 7. A Democratic candidate losing Pennsylvania by 7. In an earlier poll, he was losing Nevada by 12. So in this one, it's a lower number. So look, number one, I reject your framing completely. The number one problem we have with Joe Biden is that he's getting clobbered in the polls. Just because he stopped the bleeding a tiny bit for a minute doesn't mean that he's somehow back up. So that's totally wrong. Second of all, there is one thing that's going right for Joe Biden, and maybe that's why this Bloomberg poll, it could just be an outlier because it doesn't really match the other polls.
There's not been a lot of polls that have come out since the
need to be
debate.
better at
We're
dodging
working
this
on
guy.
very
Yeah,
little information.
Okay, so the only thing going positive for Joe Biden is that older voters are starting to transition towards him. They used to be for Trump, and there's a couple of reasons why it might be the case. The older voters watch television more. Television is a brainwashing factory for corporate politicians, but in this case, I'll take it if it's Biden versus Trump. The second reason is people might start to get annoyed. Like they keep calling him old. I'm old. I don't like it, right? And so that might be going in this direction. And Biden is the status quo candidate, and older voters generally like the status quo. Having said all this, it's not anywhere near enough. It's not within a country
Older
mile
voters are
of enough.
transitioning.
And I also want to address the unity point.
feminization camps are real.
Unity is supposed to be, if you're unified, then it'll help us win. If it doesn't help us win, if it hurts us, if it keeps us from winning, what's the point of unity? And the reality is, as we've just discussed here and everyone has agreed, every time that a party has not been unified and had a divisive primary fight in the last 20 years, that party has won. So this idea that unity is this magical, lofty goal and is wrong. And secondly, it's usually done by people who go, this is your candidate, shut up and unify. Okay, what if I said the same? What if I said back in 2016, okay, Bernie Sanders is the candidate. Now you all have to unify.
Do you not consider
You know
that
what the rest of the party would have
divisive
said? And
primary?
they, hold on. You know what they said? No way, we're not unifying. No way, it's Bernie. Okay, well then you don't believe in unity.
Well,
Just
because
be honest.
Bernie was never leading in the polls. Bernie never had a majority support in the party.
The minute someone has the minute anyone has a lead in the polls, that's it. Everybody's got to back it up. Jamal Bowman had a huge lead in the polls before the race started.
Who said that? I don't think anybody said that here. You remarked that we didn't unify behind Bernie Sanders.
You're against unity. I can't believe you.
Nobody unified.
Democrats.
Nobody unified behind Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders never even had remotely close to majority support of the Democratic Party. That's why. I'm not saying that you have to drop it. There was a whole primary process. Primary process turned out candidates against him both times.
Okay,
I actually,
Joe, please.
To your question on polling, I disagree with my friend Chank. I think Biden was down slightly going into the debate. I think most of the polling is showing that he's down a little bit more, but I don't think Biden can't win. And this poll that came out, the Bloomberg poll today that came out, was positive for Biden. If a few more polls come out in the next week that are relatively positive for Biden, that strengthens his case. I think a decision has to be made within a couple weeks, and I think the polling on this is going to be key.
Well, then let me ask you directly, Joe, sir. At what point do you change your mind? What do you need to see? What evidence needs to come out to show you that Biden would change your mind on this and say, okay, I was wrong. Biden is now, I'm riding with Biden once again. I'm getting back in that car and we're going for broke.
It's a great question. I just want to provide a little nuance. My mind changing. Like, I'm all in with Biden. I'm all in with whoever the nominee is. I want to be clear with that.
Yeah, sure.
So if I see polling in the next week that says, oh my God, okay, this thing is still really tight.
Really
if
cool
I
you
can
could just
see
push this off the
that,
ledge.
then that will give me a hell of a lot more confidence in Biden. But to what Brianna said a few minutes ago,
Yeah, John Iadarola is
I
great.
need to see Biden out there
I like other people that do
unscripted
it.
doing his thing, man. We need to see that in addition to some pretty good polling. Then I'll feel really good about it.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Can I just follow up on that real
Well,
quick?
I want to let Brianna respond real quick, and then we're going to pass it to you, and then I have a question for Destiny. Go ahead.
Sorry, Cenk. Well, actually, I wanted to ask Stephen a question. So, look, this is, I think Joe brings up a really good point. From here, from everything I've seen, for us to get back to normal, for us to have a shot of winning the Electoral College, Biden has to change things enough to get, I think, 13 points more up in the polls. Now, some of that is in, swing states like Michigan. What is the actual plan, or what pathway do you see to Biden kind of changing this narrative? Because, like, what I saw in that interview last night was frankly just a very stubborn old man who thinks everything is fine. And yeah, we've seen this playbook before with, Dianne Feinstein, and we saw it with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, people that were just kind of a little tuned out to reality. So what is the concrete, what do you think happens with Biden for him to have a shift to get confidence from the American public and turn this around? I really need an answer to that.
I don't think that populism is popular right now with the Democratic Party, but I think that populist messaging is important. Whoever does the debate coaching for Biden or speech coaching, the idea that he needs to be on stage rattling off 50 million figures like he's a nervous, like high school debate speed person or whatever, that absolutely never needs to happen. Biden needs to find a few good quotes, a few good slogans, and just hammer them over and over and over again. I think that gives him the best presence on stage, rather than, if you're asked about the economy, okay, how do you think the economy did under your country? Like, instead of 45% of Americans had this and 72%, it should just, literally be, my economy did better than Trump, who cheated on his wife with a porn star. Or my economy, it's doing better than the guy who's got 34 felons, right? Like, it should just be hammering stuff like that over and over and over again, because it's quippy, it works, people like it. Nobody cares about the numbers on either side at this point. There's no reason to have this huge fact-based material analysis of everything. Nobody cares. Like, most people's even people's understandings of how the economy is doing sometimes goes back to just the news that they consume and the media that they're watching. And to try to play by this different rule set where Biden is supposed to quote like 52 different figures, while Donald Trump thinks that invisible planes are actually invisible, and there's literally no standard for his speaking or his mental capacity, is insane, in my opinion. That's what at least for messaging, that's what Biden should focus on.
That. I 100% agree with you. And he was strongest. I don't know if you remember John McCain's funeral. I teared up then. I wasn't even a John McCain fan that much, right? Like, he's always been at his strongest when he's talking emotionally. But the core problem that I saw last night was he doesn't seem to think there's a problem. He's trapped in this thing, and I think Cenk is...
Fortunate Fruit, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Putting our first point on the board for today's festivities. Let's go.
Really put his finger on it. He's in power. He seems to think the press is against him and he's the enemy and is the enemy. He took the midterms, took credit for the midterms. I don't think the Democratic Party won the midterms. I thought it was women who are really, really pissed off about choice that got out there and rage voted and rage donated.
Sure, but also as a really quick thing, you keep saying that like he doesn't think there's a problem. He clearly does. If you've watched his speeches, yeah, he makes jokes of like, he's joking about his age quite a bit now. I'm not 40 years old, or I'm not what he's, obviously he knows it's a problem, but he's not going to go out and say it. It's like saying, it's like asking people that were still running for president before they dropped out, like, oh, like, do you think you can win? Even if you're polling at 1%, you say like, well, yeah, of course I think I can win. You're not going to say, oh, my chances are pretty bad. Biden's not going to come out and say like, yeah, I think a lot of Americans have an issue because a lot of people do seem to think that I'm in huge cognitive decline. Like, no, I wouldn't expect him to say that. He's been joking about it. He's clearly aware of it. Everyone around him is saying it. Yeah.
Okay. I believe Cenk wanted some points.
A bunch of those things?
Yeah, and then I have a question specifically for both Destiny, and then I'll question for you. So, but Cenk, you have some responses?
Okay,
Go ahead.
First of all, actually, there is one candidate who did do that, Destiny. It was me. I was at 2% on the Quinnipiac poll, which, by the way, not a lot of governors or senators got to. But
real identity.
And I was like, yeah, of course, this is not a recipe for likely success.
Post-Social
and I explained to people why I was running, what the reasons was. But the most important part of that is that I was in the objective reality world.
No, you're
right?
not.
I could understand the current situation, and I had different goals that I was going for. So now translate that over to Biden. in that interview, he did not look like he understood how far down he was at all. He seemed to indicate a couple of times, even though he quoted polls wrong from the New York Times, etc., he said over and over again, those polls are wrong, those polls are wrong, and he seemed to indicate that he thought he was tied. He's not anywhere near tied. He's not within planets of tied.
What is the
Why do you
divine
say
monster?
that?
No,
Why am I
has
hearing
him at
Destiny as the
49.51.
voice
That's not
of it?
true. Wait, how far down do you think he is?
We don't know that yet.
What is
We
this
don't
vine
know that
monster?
yet, Jake.
It is the shadow
Okay,
tree
guys,
avatar.
look, there's
Come on, brother.
there's the overall numbers.
Monster of
Then there's the
Mesopotamia.
underlying numbers. In the overall numbers, he ranges from 2 to 6 down, and he's got to win by 5. So he's 7 to 11 down. That's just the reality,
There we go.
even in the
Got
best case scenario. Then there's the underlying
From
numbers.
one.
You lost
He
younger
has 3
voters, you lost
forms
Latinos,
minimum.
your approval rating's at 36%, 80%
Also,
of
thank
the
you for the
country doesn't
$10
think your brain
dono
is
this
working.
one.
In this
Hell yeah.
circumstance, it is not a normal, oh, he's down 2, he's up 2. Golly gee, anything can happen. No, he has almost no chance of winning. And saying that a Democratic governor who was successful in Kentucky, Michigan, or Pennsylvania
Dodged the first.
has a lower chance than him is just totally unjustifiable.
I think
that's a massive number of
let me-
points by just picking one of those guys.
I'll find some common ground here with all of us. I think my friend Chank overplays how down Biden is right now. And I agree with Destiny and Brianna. I don't think he's as down as Chank says, but I think Destiny underplays Biden's problem, and Chank is right. This is unusual, guys. We haven't been here. Almost 80% of Americans do not believe Joe Biden is fit because he's too old. This is a real problem. It's not just like he's bad on an issue or he did bad pulling us out of Afghanistan or whatever. This goes to fitness for the job. In an election where Trump's fitness has to be the only issue.
To your side.
I gotta say the second half of what I was gonna say. It's related to what Joe said.
Quickly.
So
and then,
number
yeah,
one, he should have been out there after the debate. If he was healthy, if it was me and they were questioning my cognitive health, I would have done a dozen interviews by now. I might have done 24 interviews by now. We're now 9 days later, right? I mean, this is crazy. And we just found out this morning that his team demanded that the radio stations that he did the interviews in ask him pre-scripted questions. Come on, if you can't handle a softball interview at a local radio station with someone who's friendly to you and you have to feed her the questions and demand that she ask them in a scripted fashion, that means you're not the guy. That means your own team thinks you cannot handle a very normal interview. That means your own team thinks you can't actually conduct this campaign in a vigorous way, and it's not even close. And even Joe Biden told the Democrats.
Okay, note to self, if I fuck up dodging that, I will die if I go in for multiple hits. But it could be an even trade. That might be a trade I can make. Yeah. Okay.
Democratic governors, hey, I'm done by 8 p.m. at night, and now I realize that. So who's the president after 8 p.m.? And how are you going to run a campaign when you can't go past 8 o'clock at night? This is not anywhere near close. To say that a Democratic governor would not have a much higher chance than Joe Biden is just denying reality.
Can I make one more real
quick point, but then we got to let Destiny respond.
That we'll all agree on. 3.5 years ago, for the first time in American history, a sitting president lost an election, refused to concede, refused to participate in the peaceful transfer of power, and then he tried to fucking overthrow an American election. And that guy is winning right now. There's no fucking way that guy should ever be winning against a Democratic candidate. Come on.
Okay, I want to pass it.
But that guy's not winning because people don't like Biden. That guy is winning because conservatives are fucking insane. I'm sorry. Conservatives are crazy. That is absolutely the case. Well, I won't use the delusional word, but like, yes, conservatives have lost their mind, okay? Also, when we're looking at like trying to win an election, we're trying to turn out voters, right? It's not like we're trying to pull voters away from Trump or that Trump is pulling voters away from Biden. We're trying to turn out our own base and maybe sway a couple of independents in the middle. In terms of me underplaying Biden's problems, I'm not saying that Biden doesn't have a problem. It's obviously a big problem. It is a severe problem. What I think is people are underplaying how difficult it might be to have another person step up and, just be a presidential nominee and to be able to kind of like float through that, just fine. Again, like you have these massively popular governors who everybody loved who were destroyed in months. I don't remember. I have to go back and check, but wasn't DeSantis on track to lose Florida in his primary process? And this is a guy who was popular in the whole Republican Party, who was doing like legislative moves as governor. So he's popular like legislatively, the support of the whole country, the Republicans there, and he got eviscerated. It wasn't even close. He was like a laughing stock. So the idea that some Democrat can just waltz out, and then we also haven't spoken about this part much, although Representative Walsh, has brought it up. If we do have a nominee for both for political reasons and maybe financial reasons, it might have to be Kamala Harris. And that's a conversation that I don't know, how Cenk feels about that, that Kamala Harris would probably have to be the nominee. The idea that you're going to primary and toss not just your president, but your whole ticket, and you're going to turn your back on Kamala Harris, and then you're going to do a whole new thing. I don't even know if you could like transfer the funds or how any of that would work. It would just be a whole shit show. And again, not to single out Cenk, but there are a lot of people who are hypercritical of Biden you guys are never going to vote for him anyway. Ever since the whole Israeli-Gaza stuff, it was like, I can't vote for this guy. He's pro-genocide, and I would never support this dude, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you guys are never going to vote for this dude anyway. Whether you're in a good or bad debate performance, it doesn't matter. And then we're talking about like, he's incompetent to serve. And then in the next breath, it's like, well, RFK, the guy who had literal brain worms, I would consider that guy. He makes a couple of strong arguments. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't take these arguments very seriously. I don't think they come from a place of good faith, and I don't think they come from a place of wanting Democrats to actually win the party. I think it comes from a place for a lot of people just wanting to kind of like slide in their candidate they think is secretly more popular than he actually is, just because all the media's been against him.
Hey, respond, please.
I gotta address that. So this is the number one talking point that people who like establishment Democrats say, which is if you dare disagree with leadership, who by the way has been disastrously wrong. As Joe Walsh just pointed out, they lost to Trump in 2016. They're getting their asses handed to them by Trump, a verifiable moron who barely makes it into double digits in IQ. They're losing to him again. But whenever you question leadership, they go, "Oh, you're on the other side. I bet you like Trump." Okay, yeah, it's the oldest talking point in history. It's totally useless, especially in a situation like this, where you're helping Trump more than anyone on the planet by insisting that Biden stay in the race when he has almost no chance of winning. So thank you for destroying what was a pernicious talking point throughout this entire last 10 years.
Okay, so a question for
I didn't even say any of that. Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, I promise.
No, every time we question the leader, you go, "Oh, how dare you? I question your allegiance. Who are you voting for? Oh, you guys didn't want him anyway. Oh, you don't want the Democrat anyway." Nonsense. Just because you kiss corporate Democratic ass doesn't make you a better Democrat.
Hold on, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with all of the media messaging, especially alternative media, that's saying over and over again, "I won't vote for Biden." If I were to go through the Young Turks, I would watch you and Anna talk to each other. How many times have one of you said, "I don't know if I could vote for Biden"? I think you said, if you're a Muslim in America, you shouldn't vote for Biden. I can understand why you wouldn't vote for Biden. What, like Trump would do better with Israel and Gaza than Biden would? Like, come on, you guys have said this over and over and over again. The idea that you wouldn't support Biden because, I don't know if I can do it because of the genocide and blah, blah, blah. I don't think this debate has made a significant difference in your mind.
Destiny, your main point is that you've been on the side of Israeli genocide and a guy with no brain who's definitely going to lose to Trump. Wow, great compelling argument.
No, my point is I would always, if Bernie Sanders tomorrow somehow through an act of divine intervention became the nominee for the Democratic Party, I would have a fucking Bernie sticker on every single thing I own because I would support the Democratic nominee regardless. You guys have looked for a billion, almost no matter what. You guys have looked for a billion reasons.
Remembrance of the Shadow Sunflower. Mikola's. Oh! Wait, did I just kill Mikola? What? Remembrance of the Shadow Tree avatar, hewn into the Shadow Tree. The power of its namesake can be unlocked by the finger reader. Alternatively, it can be used to gain a great bounty of runes. The shadow tree is the shadow of the Erd tree, born of the dark notions that bear no sense of order, that twist and bend its stock, rendering it brittle. Ayo, first try, right? Isn't this incredible? This no-death run? Sorry. Yeah, one. It is positively galling that any of these fucking dorks have more of a following than Jack does, isn't it, though? I do tend to view this, and I'm like... it's like I'm watching a Tim Pool video for the first time, and I'm just like, oh. Wait, this person's a complete dipshit. I make better content than this. Alright, a great rune relinquished by Mikola. Broken and bereft of its bounty, it retains naught but the power to resist charms. Mikola set off for the tower enshrouded in by shadow, abandoning everything, his golden flesh, his blinding strength, even his fate. Wait, he had strength? All in an effort to bury the original sin, to embrace the whole of it, and be reborn as a new god. Interesting.
Okay.
Yes, also, we've been going for an hour and a half now. If you're enjoying the show, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And also consider dropping those sweet, sweet subs and donos. And I have to add the next 2 to the board here. We've got 3 out of 5. 2 more subs or qualifying donos. And we'll get some analog horror to kind of break the pace. But until then... Destiny has the ability to make me reluctantly agree and hate him at 2 different points in the same sentence. Wild, right? You are early, Politiqueen.
To not support Biden, even knowing that it would be Biden against Trump. Whether that means considering third-party candidates who are insane, like RFK, or whether that just means constantly spending so much undue media time shitting on Biden. It's like, oh, I don't know. I don't even know if I can support him at all, blah, blah, blah.
Kiss his ass. Yeah. That'll make it better. Kiss his ass. That'll make it better.
Who said kiss his ass? No one's done that here.
Okay.
Where the hell's the moderator?
Yeah, hold on. I'm getting in here.
This entire time. Did it help? Did it help? All your ass
yeah, this is content, baby. Okay. Okay.
No, I gotta address what he's saying. So he's saying, how dare you? You're in the news business. How dare you criticize the sitting president of the United States?
I didn't say that.
You should be in the ass-kissing business. And if you puckered up enough for him, his poll numbers.
Let me ask my question.
You did it
addresses that.
Times. Did it help his poll numbers? No. And he's saying, oh, well, look, you can't criticize Joe Biden when he's in the middle of helping Israel kill 37,000 people in Gaza.
47,000,
one of the
60,000.
One of the detriments to doing this in a group chat is I don't have a mute button anymore. But we're gonna go with what we got. Okay, so a question to Jank, to Joe, Congressman Walsh, and to Brianna Wu. Are you not worried that all this talk, right, denigrating Biden, casting doubt on his mental capacities, that it works as like a self-fulfilling prophecy, that the constant media narrative of he's unfit will be worse than the debate in driving polls and end up into a situation where if Biden stays in, you have just given him a whole lot more baggage to go through. What do you have any? Do you think that's a real concern, first of all? And if you do, what ways have you tried to mitigate that concern? I want to go to Congressman Walsh first, and then I want to hear from everyone. Go ahead.
And Brianna, I'll be brief. No, I
take
don't.
Your time.
I don't at all worry about that. I think this is healthy, and maybe my opinion is skewed because of where I come from. I come from the Republican Party. I left that party because that party's become a cult, because that party doesn't allow anyone to do this. And if you do this publicly,
they're winning, aren't they?
You're no longer in the party. No, they're not winning. They're probably going to lose the House, and the Democrats are probably going to take the Senate. This is a really, really close election. So I don't think that's a negative. I think it's a positive. And I also think we are living in unprecedented times. I think we're living in a populist moment. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. So I think a lot of very unusual things are going to happen. And I think the populace is ready for all of this. Go ahead, Brianna.
So, before I answer the question, Rick, I just want to say one of the reasons Jank is fun to work with is he's like this all the time. It doesn't matter what you're talking about or what you're working with. This is the level of passion that he has. So, Jank, he's like this all the time. It's great to see. So, Wick, I am obviously extremely worried about this. The thing is, the Republicans have a trait where they like fall in line. And we just don't do that same thing. And I'm really worried that I see the media doing this to an extent. And I want to be clear. I don't think it's like I have no issue with the New York Times asking tough questions. I thought George Stephanopoulos was fair the other time. But it really does feel like the media is in attack mode now. And for me as a public figure, I've certainly asked myself if I am doing more to hurt our chances in November than I am helping. Now
Brianna Wu did have an opportunity to help the Democratic Party, and that was by following through in her promise to stop posting on Twitter. The insistence of continuing to post on Twitter is really, I think, undermining a lot of what's going on in the party. Let's see, maybe the Gravebird would be good? Nice. Well. Good night, PC Schwarz.
I feel at the same time, my friend Barry Weiss over at Free Press, she's written about this a lot, that it's like the media
Barry
was
Weiss.
telling one narrative and saying everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. And Biden had fewer press conferences than any other president in history. And I was like, I don't know. I don't feel good about that. And then he wouldn't give interviews to the New York Times. I'm like, I really don't think that's really good. And then he has this debate, and every single American can go see that his faculties are not what they were in 2020. I assume they weren't great, but it was so difficult to watch. So I'm just really honestly torn. I don't know how to be helpful in this moment. Is giving a helpful analysis helpful, or should I be pretending there's no problem like a lot of my fellow Democrats are doing? I don't have an answer for that.
I think it's good. I think it's good to be critical. I think there are plenty of reasons to be critical of Biden's mental faculty. Yes. I think there are plenty of reasons to, and I have been. But I mean, as it's been pointed out, like the coverage is insane.
Yeah,
I don't know if
Dominic
there's been like a
Maslick,
formal counting, but
it's brain
the
poison.
Supreme Court
It's
just
straight
gave
up
the
nightmare
president like
fuel.
a massive amount of criminal immunity when he's performing powers as president. I feel like I've seen 10 times more articles, 10 times more discussion on the Biden debate performance than I have about like that Supreme Court decision. And the idea that this is like the obsessive talking about, again, is it a problem? Yeah, absolutely it is. Is it worth talking about? Yeah, absolutely it is. But yeah, I think that these media cycles can definitely, to some extent, become self-fulfilling if you keep harping on it over and over and over again. But I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's up to people in media to decide what they want to talk about.
Okay. Cenk, go ahead.
So the question goes to the core of the cancer within the Democratic Party, which is this idea that you're not supposed to question authority, you're not supposed to question leadership, you're not supposed to question the candidate. First of all, look at the assumption that people in media should only say good things about Biden. That's literally propaganda.
I don't know if I
So
did
first
the
off,
Dark Lake
I'm out.
Catacombs. I need to check.
I'm in the news business. I'm not going to do propaganda. I'm going to tell you my honest opinion. Secondly, it so happens that strategically, that's the better way to go anyway, for two reasons. Number one, you're not hurting the party by questioning your candidate. You're trying to help him get to a better position. For example, Biden lost about 30 points with younger voters over Gaza. So criticizing him over Gaza helps him get to a position where he'll pick up more votes. Now, if the candidate says, no, I'm going to constantly do the wrong thing, that makes me more and more unpopular, that's on the candidate. Democrats, please ask more of your candidates. Don't say, oh, that's okay. Hold on. We'll build a wall of propaganda around him. And we'll just demand that the media say nothing but positive things about him. And then that way we could protect incredibly weak candidates.
But to be clear,
How about instead, we challenge our candidates, and our candidates are really strong, and then they can make their case in a way that allows them to win elections. I've got more, but go ahead. Yeah,
Sure,
you wanted
but to be clear, just to reiterate the question, we're not talking about criticism in general, but of his unfitness to be president, which is a fundamental different thing than criticizing him over Gaza or over the Afghanistan pullout or any of these other things, right?
Okay. Well, guys, hold on. The question's to me. Hold on. I mean, I got to ask you guys back. Do you have eyes? Do you have ears? Are we going to sit here and think that if we pretend that he's not in mental decline, that we'll be able to trick the American people? Number one, I have no interest in tricking the American people. Two, I have no interest in leaving objective reality. He's in obvious, massive mental decline. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie under any circumstances to help this incredibly weak candidate. Instead, I'm going to be productive, and I'm going to help try to drive him out so we can get a strong candidate who actually wants to beat Donald Trump. And guys, one more thing. When you do this type of propaganda, you lose credibility with independents who are going to decide this election. Earlier, Destiny said, oh, you're not going to get conservatives. Of course we're not going to get conservatives to vote for Joe Biden or any Democratic candidate. You're trying to win over independents. And every time you say preposterous things like, Biden's perfectly fine, he's a dynamo behind the scenes, you lose credibility with those
has anybody on this panel said that?
It's so hard to get it back.
Wait, has anybody on this panel said that?
Biden's team said that repeatedly.
Wait, Biden's team is not in the room with us right now. I don't know why we're responding. No one here is defending that. No one here is defending that. Nobody here said that. I don't know why we're responding to this.
You tell me. You're saying that Biden's the best candidate we have.
Correct.
So are you saying he's in obvious mental decline, but I'll take him anyway? And he's better than every Democrat in the country, even though he's in obvious mental decline? Or are you denying that he's in mental decline?
I don't see a candidate right now that is obviously and clearly a better candidate to run for president than him.
No, hold on, Destiny, just to answer the question, right? Do you think that currently, right now, that President Biden is fit to make decisions of a president, right? Like to actually
I don't think he's shown any, he obviously can't hold it up in a fucking debate for sure. But like, does he have like obvious and clear mental decline where he can't make decisions as president? I haven't seen evidence of that. I know that his debate performance looked bad, but no, I don't know if I would go as far as to say that.
I agree with that. I agree with Destiny, by the way. I don't believe, I believe Joe Biden can still function and do his job, but I worry about him doing his job 3 or 4 years from now.
Yeah.
Look, again, do we do Biden damage, if we publicly plea with him to step down? I agree with Cenk. That's not my job. I get paid to say what I believe. I want the best candidate possible to defeat Trump. But if it is Biden,
I think the bigger issue here is I don't honestly believe that these four assholes have the best of intentions. Clearly, Cenk is under some delusion that without the Democratic machine, he'd be the nominee for president, which is insane. Just shows what's wrong with him. I mean, it's either that, right? Or it's either that or he just feels. I gotta be honest. I have a really hard time reading Cenk, like a really hard time reading him, because there was a time I would have attributed like all of the honesty in the world to him, and that time is several years ago. Like maybe the 2020 election and Bernie's second loss broke him. I don't know. I know Bernie's first loss broke a lot of people in the online media space, but like. Maybe Bernie's second loss really did it in for Cenk. I don't know what's going on, but ooh, that's pretty good. Raises maximum stamina by the utmost. That's good. Oh, I can't actually wear my armor if I don't use this. Cool. Can we please talk about the irony of Destiny, the optics pilled debate bro, defending Biden for having a bad debate? Hey, can I play? You know what? I'm just gonna play this for y'all. I think you guys will enjoy it. If I can find it here. might be scrolling for like a minute. Also, I hope you all are having a good time. I know, again, we're doing these chill streams, and it's not par for the course for me, but I hope you all enjoy them nonetheless. I think I was gonna bring this up, but then essentially I got sidetracked by all this Biden stuff so hard. This one, no. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Found it. Cool. Anyway, here's Ben Burgess sharing this, and it's pretty incredible. Here's a 5-minute long clip of Destiny seemingly adopting all of the arguments that white nationalists used in the past, that he argued against, but he's adopted all of those positions for Israel.
Why is Israel so protective of the ethnic character of the country? Why do you think that is?
What is it that's so offensive about white people saying they would like to preserve their demographic majority?
We're not the same as blacks. We're not the same as Mexicans. And there's no reason why we can't have a majority here and we can't work to preserve and defend that majority and expand it.
Well, is it not convincing to you that there's not a single country in the world with an African majority that is even close to the standards of any Western or Asian country?
Give me one Muslim or Arab majority country where Jews live happily as a minority, or you need to tell me all the reasons why it doesn't work in every single one of those particular countries. Go for it.
It is acceptable for the United States to support a country that has displaced millions of people in the last 9 months.
I think there are a host of good reasons. I think that Israel is a good trading partner for the United States. Israel is, for all of its faults, of which, you know, there are a number to point at, Israel is a beacon of democracy in the Middle East compared to every single surrounding country. And Israel's adherence to things like rule of law make it a special country in the Middle East. And these are ideas and things that are worth championing for the United States.
I don't know if there's anything wrong with, like, expulsion or ethnic cleansing. It seems to me to logically follow that if a country invades
Jesus Christ
or takes over part of another country, that it might expel those people, or that those people might leave.
Your analysis of the failures is entirely one-sided. The Palestinians walked away. The Palestinians turned to violence. All they do is fight, 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 fight. This is a one-sided narrative.
It's true. The inception of the Palestinian movement has been one of violence.
Both parties here are violent parties.
Yes, but only one has been forced to contend with political realities on the ground, and that's Israel. That's why Israel, you can say they're violent, but they formed peace with partners that they thought they never would form peace with.
Zionism is ultimately a movement based on conquest and dispossession.
And Islam isn't? What's a caliphate? What was the Ottoman Empire?
I'm not denying the violence of the Ottoman Empire. Why would I? Why would we
talk about the intrinsic territorial conquest nature of Zionism when Zionists, Israel, have given back land and territory to other countries?
Because it's the conflict that we're talking about.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense to say that
you're describing one side as using violence to achieve its goals.
Yes.
Right? But
correct.
You are ignoring all of the violence on the other side.
Because I think that the Israeli
that's
side...
precisely what happens in the Israeli narrative.
Because what's happening is the two sidesing you're doing right now.
Then there's a backlash, and then you say, and you only look at the backlash.
In 36, did Israel accept the Peel Commission, that partition was necessary and the land would need to be split?
Yeah, with, by the way, a provision to kick a bunch of the Arabs out of the proposed partition.
Because the Brits had said that it seemed like it was an unworkable thing, right?
Well, there you go, right? It would have involved violence.
It would have involved transfer of people off of property, not necessarily violence. Forcibly removing these people from their homes and shipping them off to other countries, which is one of the most aggressive acts the state could ever perform. You could argue maybe even more aggressive than execution, definitely more aggressive than imprisonment. This is already the worst treatment that you could offer somebody. So you don't tell people that live in a country that they have to leave because of their ethnicity. Why? You can't conflate. I know that they're all brown, but you can't say they're all the same.
There's certain beliefs and ideals that a society should hold up.
Like not forcibly deporting people from a country that they've existed in for multiple generations? I'm just asking, why does Israel care about the ethnic composition of the country? That's the question. Now you're talking about Zionism? That's the question.
That's literally the same thing, Stephen.
It's literally not, but okay.
It is literally the same thing, right? Again, I don't know why you're having so much trouble keeping track of this, but this is a very simple
Hold on, to
point.
be clear, I'm not having trouble keeping track of this.
Motivated
We can
reasoning
talk
is a
about
hell
a
of a
Jewish
drug.
nation. We can talk about Theodore Herzl. We can talk about the foundational ideas of Zionism all you want. What I'm asking is right now for today, why does Israel want to maintain the ethnic character of their country? That's it. The ethnic character of the country is important to Israeli people, especially Jewish ones, because they feel like if they were to live as an ethnic minority, that the history would be repeated that they'd experienced in every other part of the world, and they would be subject to pogroms or mass violence like they had been historically. Israel doesn't face any real security threats. That's a quote from Zionists. I don't think Israel faces real security threats today. Obviously, terror attacks and whatnot can happen, but not things that like threaten like the territorial integrity of Israel is what I mean. Maybe the more reasonable route would be to acknowledge that there are a lot of problems that exist today due to a wide variety of reasons. Why not focus on addressing the problems like the collapse of communities or the loss of religion or institutions in our country?
I see these things intertwined.
Some of the shortcuts.
Most Muslims and most Arabs in the Middle East would tell you, yeah, f them. We don't want them to have equal rights. They don't deserve it. But, you know, they're blaming it on Israel now. A lot of them would say, no, these people, we don't want them here. There's nothing racially essentialized about that. If you're ethnocentric and you're basing your values on the race of somebody, I would argue that, yeah, of course you're racist. That's like the definition of being racist. You can't just keep crying, oh, you're being racist. Oh, you're being racist.
Why do you assume there's some racist intent behind this?
Because we're having a discussion about an ethno-state. So you would say that advocating for an ethno-state is not necessarily an extremist position?
Nope.
Okay.
Hey,
I
salty internet
I would
pirate.
consider anything advocating ethno-states to be pretty extremist, but
mean,
I don't know
my
what you're
God.
arguing for.
I don't think Steven is genuinely changing his positions over time. It just looks like he doesn't truly hold any of these positions he argues for. Yeah, that's been my analysis of Steven for a long time. Like he's a dog chasing a car. He argues to argue. You know?
I don't think you've existed
You,
in reality.
you don't know
for
what
any
I'm
part-
arguing for? I don't know how it possibly could have been more clear that I think that what Israel is doing counts as apartheid and ethnic cleansing, and it's wrong for the United States to support that. I don't know how I could have been more clear on that. I realize that you prefer to talk about anything but that's my position.
What a great clip compilation. Well done. Anyway.
And if Biden can show it, and if Biden can prove it this next week or two, and if poll numbers can bolster him,
I don't think
then
he's gonna
again,
prove it.
I'll run through a wall with Biden, even though I admit he's declined cognitively. If he's in a fucking coma, I'll vote for him over Trump. So I acknowledge that. But the issue has to be Trump's unfitness.
So I guess to Cenk, a question to you then, right? Is there anything Biden can do, or you can see any evidence, right, that can come out that would convince you to change your mind and throw your weight back in support of Biden as the Democratic nominee and potential president in 2024?
Yeah, definitely. Easy. So he comes out and is an actual dynamo, does a ton of events, interviews, press conferences. He's hitting questions out of the ballpark. And he goes to the next debate with Trump and eviscerates him and is strong and healthy and vibrant and makes a terrific case for the Democratic policies. And he goes and he does things right and from a foreign policy and domestic policy perspective, and does logical things like putting out paid family leave for a vote, getting a ceasefire in Gaza, all these things.
Stop, Tank. You went too far. Stop with the issues. We're just talking about his fitness, Now you and I are going to fight. Stop with the issues.
So, I mean, look,
I'm with Destiny. I'm back with Destiny.
So if Biden turns into Bernie Sanders, I would support him wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Wait. Are you guys serious? I thought you were joking. No, there's a way to win this election.
But Cenk, I'm serious. Even if you disagree with Biden on 8 out of 10 issues, if you believe he's generally fit to be president, you will vote for him over Donald Trump, correct?
Yeah. So, guys, I'm giving you 2 different things he can do to win the election. The question was, is there a way that I would support him? Yeah. If he does these dynamic things on the campaign trail and he makes a great case for himself in the Democratic Party, you'll see the poll numbers go up anyway. And then I'll say, hey, look, I thought it was unrecoverable, but I was wrong. I do that all the time because I live in the fact-based world. So if his poll numbers now exceed Trump's in the swing states because he did a great job on the campaign trail, great. But the second thing he could do to not just get my vote, but to get everybody's vote. Guys, I'm not talking about like some sort of like socialist policies or something, paid family leave polls at 84%. And he's not going to be able to get it passed now. The very reason to introduce a policy like that is so you get 84% of the country on your side. This is elementary politics, but Joe Biden can't even do the simplest things that you need to do to win an election. That's why I'm against him.
Go ahead, Brianna.
Well, I was just gonna say, so this is. I fear that like relitigating the Bernie Sanders stuff is not super productive. So I wanted to talk about something else though. This kind of related to what you were hinting at, Cenk, that I think is part of my calculus in trying to figure this out, which is if Democrats are going to win this thing, there's no way for us to win that doesn't involve Michigan. And one of the values, I think, of if Kamala Harris took over or Gavin Newsom took over, or if there was a change of leadership, is, you know, it's essentially like you can kind of write off all this strife that's happened. Like, Stephen, you know my opinion on Israel versus Palestine. I've disagreed with Cenk on it many times. You know, like, that's how I feel about it. But it's impossible to say that there's not a rift in Michigan that's very, very real. And
hold on, just as a quick thing, any rift that you would try to remedy, regardless of what we think the policy positions are, okay? As Cenk said, we like to live in a fact-based world. The vast majority of relevant voters who are old and go to the polls all support Israel. Yes. So the idea that we're going to sit here and take some pro-ultra ceasefire, anti-Israeli, like super pro-Gaza stance just for Michigan, like is delusional, right? Yeah.
I have contempt for those people too, Stephen, 100%. But
yeah, I hate people who want us to stop slaughtering civilians too, Stephen. Don't worry, we're on the same side.
The polls, I've actually looked at Michigan very, very closely. There is a large contingent of Muslim voters there. That's just a reality. And there is an antipathy there. We're not talking about fringe leftist, anti-electoral dipshits that are not going to vote no matter what. These are people that were with, they used to vote Republican until the Bush era. Then they switched sides and they've seen, actions that I personally support that Biden has taken in Gaza. And they are really, really not on board with it, and they're threatening to withhold their vote in this election.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm just saying that any change you make there to gain some voters in Michigan is going to destroy you with the rest of the electorate.
So, even taking that aside, there are a million different things. I think that all of a sudden, if we switch candidates, all this stuff that Biden has done or has not done.
Oh, and to be clear, Brianna, I'm sorry to
actually, can I finish my point, Wick? Actually, then Biden, whoever replaces Biden, is a new story, right? The Democrats, whoever they are, have the youthful energy. And some of the polls I was looking at before this showed that everyone feels both candidates are too old. Everyone wants another alternative, which is why RFK is doing terrifyingly well in the polls. So I just think there's a practical reality in kind of saying, okay, if you don't like this, here's a new option. And part of why Obama was able to win is he very strategically did not get very deep on the policies that he actually believed in. We all imprinted what we wanted to see after the Bush years onto Obama, which is why it was so shocking when he didn't necessarily do all of that. So I think there's going to be an advantages. I think it resets the news cycle. I think we can move forward.
I just want to ask you real quick, Brianna.
Sure.
So when you say a new candidate, you do support Harris as your favorite. If Biden does drop out, I just want to confirm that.
Hand to God, Wick, I don't care. I'm a Democratic Party operative. I will go with whoever the party wants.
No preference?
I just want to win. I literally don't have a preference. They all have upsides and downsides. I think the point Joe made about being able to transfer the money in the war chest is non-trivial, but I think we could overcome it.
Okay, fair enough. I guess
Can
I
jump in with one thing there?
Go ahead.
Two things, actually. One is a point of clarification. I just want everybody in the audience to understand. The money can go into a super PAC, and that super PAC can spend it on any candidate. It does not have to go to Kamala Harris. So if it stays within the campaign, it goes to Kamala, but it can easily be transferred to a super PAC that could bring it to any candidate. Number two, there's this like discussion, the false discussion here, as if I'm supporting Bernie Sanders for this particular election. Look, I love Bernie, and I think he's right about all the things that we've discussed. But I'm under no illusion that a progressive is going to win in a convention. Those delegates are Biden delegates. And if you listen to what I've been saying in this debate, I've argued for Andy Beshear, as far as I know, the very conservative Democrat out of Kentucky. I've argued for Whitmer Shapiro. None of these people are anywhere near Bernie Sanders. So I'm actually arguing for, and my guess is that Beshear is more conservative than Kamala Harris, and I'd rather have Beshear. Why? Because he's more likely to win. This is not a debate between progressives versus the establishment. This is a debate between objective reality and people who don't believe in objective reality.
As a quick, also just a quick fact on that, a super PAC by definition can't coordinate or like have any direct input from any of the candidates. So when we say that like all the money could be, yeah, I know in Jenk's world where everything is rigged and illegal anyway, or whatever, it doesn't matter. But for the rest of us that do live in the
I never do anything like that. You're right. Super PACs are totally innocent. You're right.
You're right.
Yeah, and if all the money just goes from the Kamala campaign to the super PAC, and the super PAC is magically doing all these ads for one particular candidate, of course, nobody's going to have a vested interest in uncovering some kind of relationship there that isn't going to be the main primary talking point of probably you and the rest of the alternative left media for the rest of the election cycle. So you can have all you want. However, if you have money that is your campaign, you can coordinate directly. You can film ads for these people. You can spend the money on your campaign as you see fit. If that money goes to a super PAC, do these people unofficially coordinate in some ways behind the scenes? Yeah, they do, but they can't at the same level. So it's ludicrous to announce that the money would be the same in a super PAC as it would for your own campaign. That's all I'm saying.
I think practically working around a black female vice president would be a real problem for the Democratic Party. I agree with Cenk. I think Kamala Harris should be the nominee, but I agree with Cenk. I think have a mini open primary, as Clyburn suggested, at the convention. I think she'd win that, and I think that would strengthen her.
Okay. Couple on that note, right? If Kamala, if you have this mini primary in the convention, Kamala doesn't win for whatever reason, someone else, Gavin Newsom, maybe, I don't know, right? It doesn't matter. How worried are we about Heritage Foundation lawyers challenging ballots, right? And using quote unquote lawfare against when we in the states, right, try to switch what names are on the ballots. Do we not think that's a real concern?
Huge concern.
Zero concern. Huge concern. Bridge this gap for me. Why?
Go ahead, Brianna.
I've just looked at this. I've talked to friends that are working here. Ohio, there was a huge, they used to have gentlemen's agreements that if you swapped out the candidate, it would just be changed. Then the Republicans were going to play hardball. Then it went back and they were going to allow us to have this process. Now it's not so sure. I think this is 100% a fair concern. Imagine if in one of these swing states that we must win, if Republicans pull their tricks and it goes to the Supreme Court and they rig it so we can't be on the ballot. Of course that's a huge concern.
Yeah, no, so I don't agree. And the reason is twofold. Number one, Ohio was already resolved, thank God. The legislature passed the bill and the governor signed a bill delaying putting the candidate on the ballot in Ohio after the Democratic convention. So that's already solved. Number two is overall, guys.
We got the barbed staff spear. That's interesting. Great staff of Jory, Elder, Inquisitor. The tip bristles with gold barbs, symbolic of the Inquisition's torture, allowing one to wield the staff as a great spear. Attacks deal holy damage, and potency increases with faith. Man, this really is a faith-based expansion. Nah, Mish, you don't never have to feel bad for being a chat hog, okay? And also, I don't think you're being a chat hog. You're good. It's the staff of the barbs.
There's a Supreme Court decision about whether to keep Trump off the ballot in Colorado and Maine and other places. And the Supreme Court ruled 9-0. Now, you could say, I get it. Like, you don't trust the courts and you think they're going to, and I get it's a slightly different issue. Obviously, it was a 14th Amendment issue, and the Republicans are going to make up presumably a different issue, but whatever they're going to say is going to be made up. The Supreme Court would have to then go, yeah, we're disallowing Biden from the ballots, even though, or the new candidate from the ballots, even though we allowed Trump. I think the chances are almost none that they would do that. That would be the most outrageous stealing of an election that anybody has ever seen. And the court would lose all credibility and the country would be in utter chaos. So I think worrying about that is such a small percentage chance as opposed to the giant percentages we're going to pick up with a new candidate.
Agreed.
Or rather,
let me.
We allowed the Supreme Court to basically make the president immune. So, like, I don't know how much respect for the court we should have right now. Frankly,
I have some.
Just as a quick thing. I'm sorry. Just as a matter of law, the reason why the 14th Amendment thing was tossed out was because the Supreme Court decided that states don't have the right to enforce that criteria that would have been only enforceable on a federal level, that states didn't have a right to apply Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to their own ballot procedures. I don't know if that argument would further any case where a state says that due to their own internal state procedures, they won't list a ballot or they won't list a candidate on a ballot because of things that they've had that their state legislatures have approved of and that their state Supreme Courts have approved of. I think that legally we're talking about two wildly different issues. So I don't know if I don't know if the holding opinion on that other case would be instructive for how they would treat states omitting some people from the ballot because they didn't make the deadline, which I believe historically has happened. If a candidate doesn't make the deadline, the state doesn't list them on the ballot.
Just real quick, all the deadlines are past the Democratic convention, so I don't think there's any danger of that.
Fair enough. Okay, I have some audience questions that I think we should be getting into, unless anyone has any threads that they'd like to go down that we have not yet in this discussion.
I want to come back just super quickly, Wick. So to one of the ways I can see this going, Stephen, and let me know if you agree with this, as far as the war chest. So I think one of the ways this could work in our favor if we swapped out the candidate is you'd essentially have two parallel operations, right? So can someone remind me how much does...
Am I actually paying attention? You know, a little bit less than I would be if I was watching this directly, but I gotta be honest, like, with stuff like this, they're basically all saying stuff that's some kind of monstrous, and, like, it's kind of insane to me that, like, even if I walked into this feeling like Cenk is a good egg, you know, I would feel differently after watching this. Like, he's just sitting by while people say absolutely horrible things, you know? Jack's too busy gaming to notice chat. No, I'm not. I just defeated a boss. You're too busy gaming to chat. Nailed it. Yeah, we like you, Mish. I'm too busy chatting to game. Oh, look at all of you chatting. Huh. This debate is pretty yucky. It's so... I was expecting, like, everyone to be awful in different ways. I guess I wasn't expecting them all to be kind of, like, aligned in the ways in which they're awful. I wasn't expecting this much agreement, and it's disappointing. I gotta be honest, it's disappointing. I'm too busy sucking at Celeste to chat. That's fair. By the end of it, you'll be trans. It's true. You and everyone you know. It's true. That's how it works, you know? It's like a nuclear bomb if made out of gender fluid. Let's see. What are they awful about? Gaza is a big one. Frankly, like the threat we're facing to democracy, they're not good people on this debate panel. Have I watched Mandela Catalog? every 5 subs, we're watching a new volume of the catalog. I was hoping we'd get to volume 5 tonight, but that does not appear to be happening, and that's okay. We'll get to it on a new night. Thought we got another donut. You did! It was 1. Thank you for reminding me. It happened around the boss area. There we go. Boom. Good eye. Good eye, Amber Brains.
Biden have in his war chest? It's like
Around 250.
250.
Also, at least 2 of these people have been awful to me in person or directly in conversation. So like, I don't know, on a personal level, I also dislike most of them.
Something like that. They've got offices, that's all set up. It's absolutely accurate that if Biden were to convert that to a super PAC, it can't work with the candidate. But I'm imagining almost a double Democratic field operation going on, where Biden's got he's got all this money in the bank. He can go out there, boom, rally the troops. Every single day, he's out there talking to people, working the crowds, getting them to go do it. And then whoever our candidate is, there's going to be a rush of fundraising. I think normal people in the middle, the ones that are tuned out of this election that just want another option, I think they are going to give very generously. And I think it's going to be a lot of work to build up field offices. I don't think the canvassing part of it is going to be that difficult, but you're essentially going to have 2 separate operations. And I could actually see this being a huge plus for us as far as our ground game, which is how we're going to win this.
I'm sorry, if I use the mimic veil, it turns me into a dead rat. This is extraordinarily funny. I love the mimic veil. It's so fucking funny. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Look at the Rams. I'm just trying not to get hit by it. It's acting all crazy. Bum, bum. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. Honestly, seeing a dead rat snaking along the ground is something I never thought I'd see in a game. You know, they say we need a new Metal Gear Solid game, but do we really? I mean, just look at how incredible this is. And, nothing to see here, mate. I'm just a rat. Oh. God. All right. Hey, nerd. Oh, I got madness. Okay, so he can see through my disguise.
Let me jump in real quick, and that looks like Destiny wants to say something. Again, I think we all underestimate the earthquake tsunami of news it would be, the event it would be if Joe Biden said, I'm not fucking running, and the Democrats picked another nominee at their convention.
Yep.
Name ID would be through the roof. Money would pour in. Enthusiasm would come from sectors we haven't seen in so long.
Yep.
This would be a race. It would fundamentally change the dynamic, and money and everything would follow. This would be an earthquake, guys.
Okay. So here, okay. So one thing that the party is probably considering, and that a lot of people, when you're dealing with it with a largely variable thing, impossible considering, is volatility. Okay, you would have to be an idiot to say that you could pick a new candidate and it could cause such a resurgence of interest, of invigoration, of talking points, of debates, that having Kamala Harris, or even if she got tossed, having a Newsom literally, dog walking Donald Trump on a debate stage would just energize the voter base so much, right? These are things that could happen. I wouldn't say any of these are outside the realm of possibility. The scary thing is the volatility. It's also not outside the realm of possibility that Kamala Harris gets chosen. It isn't exciting for a moment, for a moment in time, and then it's like, wait, she did what when she was the DA? They were arresting illegal immigrants? Wait, hold on, this is supposed to be immigrant. Wait, hold on, she did what for truancy? They want to lock our kids up? Aren't Democrats already attacking our children? Or wait a second, we don't even trust the Democrats to be running their own candidacy? Why is he dropping out now? If this is a problem, why didn't they choose him before? And now everybody's talking about the unreliability of the Democratic Party. I thought you guys were making fun of House Republicans not being able to hold their majority speaker seat. You can't even be trusted to run your incumbent again. Like, you guys are completely unreliable, right? So I like, if you're being an honest actor, you can't say with any certainty what would happen if you were to put a new candidate up. That's the only thing that I stress. Could it be really good? It could be, but it could also be really bad. And right now, I don't think that Biden has slipped enough where I'm like, oh yeah, this is done. Screw that. If Biden started to
if Cenk Uygur were the Democratic nominee, would you vote for him? In a heartbeat. I'm still an oops all Cenk girl, okay?
If it was like double-digit trailing nationally, or even like big single-digit trailing in like every single swing state, I'm like, fuck, man, what do you have to lose at this point? Yeah, let's go with the high volatility option. But if it still looks like he reasonably could win, and most projections have it that he still reasonably could win, right? The idea of tossing that for something so unpredictable that could be really good, but could also be really bad, is just a really scary prospect.
Responses?
Yeah. Yeah. So real quick. So first of all, I want to give credit to the panel, because I thought it was going to be me and Brianna on one side and Destiny and Joe on the other side. But I like that we all have different independent opinions. So that's great. I love that.
I put together the grass panels, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and shout out to you as well, Wick. Thank you for doing that, and also to Destiny, because he's now basically 3-1 on Biden dropping out or staying in the race, and he's and I appreciate that, and I always want to make note, hey, it'll get a slightly skewed version because Destiny's on his own here. Okay, now having said that, the part that I disagree with is there's this fetish of the status quo. Oh, the status quo is higher percentage chance of being the right thing all the time. But that's not true. It depends. Is the status quo good or bad? And right now, the status quo ranges from bad to disastrous for the Democratic Party.
Wait, I don't
so
endorse
under the
now.
idea that the status quo is always better and then you'll have volatility otherwise, you would run Feinstein again. And guys, I mean, I'm joking, except they kept Feinstein in the entire time and told us she was fine, just like they're doing with Biden. So it's not like the Democratic Party hasn't done that. Is it better to get someone in new sometimes? Of course! And Destiny acknowledges that it is sometimes. So in this particular case, when you have Biden massively trailing by every indication, including some indications where it's literally never been done before in American history, or you go with a fresh candidate that has billions of dollars in free media coverage that will raise a ton of money and has won in like red states before or swing states before, I like our chances infinitely better by changing the status quo rather than keeping the status quo in a situation like this.
But always remember this. To Destiny's point, Joe Biden won the Democratic primary. Democratic voters made him their nominee. All of this is moot if he doesn't say, for the good of the country and to stop Donald Trump, I'm stepping down. He has to say that.
Regardless of whether you think he should, I'm curious as to the panel's thoughts on whether he will. What are we thoughts?
I'll start. I think he will say that within 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's the prediction. We're locking it in, Congressman. I'll come back to you in 2 weeks, and we'll see if your prediction's accurate or not. Any other thoughts on this?
Yeah. Biden's definitely going to drop out. And there's two reasons why. Number one, because he's going to have many more slip-ups because he is in mental decline. And so he's going to do it again and again. Snake? And by the second or third time, it's going to be completely and utterly untenable. And besides which, he's not going to make this miraculous comeback and get into the positives and favorability. It's a literally impossibility. So at some point, everybody's going to panic. But the number one reason is, well, there's two giant reasons. Number one, the donors are turning off the faucet, and the only power that Joe Biden has is donor money. So without that power, he has nothing left. And number two, Republicans right now are running back-breaking ads against Democratic congressmen and senators saying they knew about Joe Biden's condition and they lied for him. Can you trust Bob Casey if he lies about this? That's going to take down Democrats' numbers all across the board, 2 to 5 points at least.
Jenk is correct.
And it's going to absolutely destroy our chances of winning swing states and purple districts. And at some point, there's going to be a massive rebellion. So my timeline is actually much shorter than Joe's. I've already said online.
I think by the end of the week. I predicted by the end of today, but, you know, it is what it is. It's kind of nuts they stole it from Bernie crowd literally wants to pull Biden and have a contested convention where they think they'll get their ideal candidate and it not just be Kamala, right? There's going to be like such... If it does go to like an open convention, it's going to be such a shit show unless they figure out someone to ordain behind the scenes. Okay. Oh god. No. This rat is dynamite. Stay away from me. You stay away from me here. I'm running away. You'll never get me alive. Oh god, he has a leap attack. Oh god. Oh god. Oh no. Please. Mercy. What is that? Why is it light over there? Ow. That hurt. That actually hurt a lot. Okay, so I'm not sure what the "don't let it see you" thing meant, but you know, it is what it is. Oh, do they have one of these duplication machines over here? No. A map! A map, a map! I wasn't expecting a map. A map of Abyss? That's so cool. Such a metal thing to call something. Oh! This map is huge, dog! When did I become a floating monolith? The second I started streaming. Huh. Frenzy perfume bottle. Shadow tree. Neat. I still have a huge corner of the map not opened up yet. Look at this. Look at this map. This is wonderful. Is there anything interesting in here we haven't seen yet? God. I like that this area is just called Abyss.
I think there's a chance he drops out by Monday. There's going to be a massive revolt in Congress.
So in 2 days. So we got 2 weeks. We got 2 days. thoughts on this, Brianna Wu? Regardless of whether you think he should, will he, and when?
I don't feel as strongly. I think I do have a $100 bet, public bet with Robbie Suave, my good friend Brianna Joy Gray's former co-host over at Rising, that he's going to drop out, but I don't feel strongly. My evidence for that is everything I'm hearing from people on the Hill, friends at work for various campaigns, is there's a lot of discussions about the actual legal frameworks of how it would work, and seeing Mark Warner come out and very strongly say he's putting together a coalition of Senate Democrats that want him to step down. To me, that signals that he and other Democrats are worried about losing their races because we count on people showing up in election years for us. Joe, I'm sure you can testify Congress will do what they have to do, but ultimately they are self-serving critters and they're going to do what helps them keep their jobs. So to me, that is the pressure that makes the most sense on this. But I would only say it's like 60-40. I don't
60-40, so not sure. We got a maybe leans drop out, but not sure. Destiny,
100%.
what do you think? Whether you think he should or not, do you think he will? And do you have a timeline for us?
So unless he has another huge fuck up for a debate, it just completely messes a performance up, or unless he starts to slide significantly in the polls, I don't think they'll poll him. It's just way too much volatility. And I think another factor that's really scary that people haven't considered much is if you poll Biden and if you run another candidate, you might introduce a scenario where a whole bunch of people are starting to look and consider, okay, well, who's the next candidate? Who should I vote for? And RFK is a pretty popular dude. RFK's probably polled about as many votes as you have off of Trump. But if now you've got a whole bunch of Democrats who are reconsidering their vote, man, if only 3 or 4 points worth of Democrats are like, oh, okay, well, you know what, this is fuck. I think I will vote for RFK. Fuck that. They might, you only need a few percentage points of people to tend in that direction, and now you've completely lost it. The volatility, I think, is just so scary for all the potential things that could happen, unless, like I said, Biden has a huge mess up in another performance, or the poll numbers start to slide significantly.
The slope slides both directions. So what if our candidate is much better, and a couple of people who were supporting RFK Jr. because they thought Biden had mental health problems, then come back up to the Democrats, and we pick up 2 or 3 points?
Hey,
I don't think anybody that we nominate is going to pull anybody off of RFK, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
You had a question?
No,
Hey,
half
Wick,
his supporters are former Democrats.
Chank's going to get mad at me because I have to go jump to get on corporate media in a minute and go jump and go jump on the evil CNN. But Wick, I want to find some common ground among the 4 of us. No matter what happens in a week or 2 or a month and a half, Brianna, Stephen, Cenk, and me, we are all in with the Democratic nominee,
Is that
no
true?
matter who that ends up being, correct?
Yes.
Yep,
100%.
absolutely.
I will donate money.
1,000,000,000%.
I will
G'day,
phone
common
bank,
ground,
I will do
baby,
whatever
common
it takes.
Okay. I know you have to go, so I'm going to give you an out. Where can people find you, Congressman?
Just follow me on Twitter at Wall Freedom. By the way, this has been great. You 4 have been, everybody's been wonderful. Thank you all.
Have a great
Thanks for
day.
joining us.
And
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, we'll see you
Thanks,
later.
guys.
Okay. If you will indulge me, we do have some audience questions. I don't know how much time you have. Is that okay?
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Just a little bit. We'll get to the most expensive ones first. Okay, $50 from the Eco-Modernist to say, very important topic. Thanks for the coverage. Our climate and energy future depends on the leader we elect in 2024. Thank you for the $50. $20 for Cenk and Wu. Sorry, reading it, saying it. Okay.
It's okay.
Why trust polls with all-time low response rates when Dems haven't lost ground in any actual election? MAGA has consistently underperformed polls and lost consistently since 2018. What is your explanation for this?
I think it's a fair question. Oh, go ahead, Cenk.
No, go ahead, Brianna.
No, I was just going to say, polls overwhelmingly, we've run into this in the pack Cenk and I run together, which is, polls are less reliable. You have to kind of interpret them. What I personally look for is signal, just in the direction things are going. I think we have a difference of opinion. I think that the person sending the super chat is thinking they can't be trusted. I attribute those victories to external forces, like I mentioned, losing Roe earlier in this. So I'm just not as convinced that that is meaningless. So that's kind of how I feel.
Chet, is that an avatar of chaos? What the hell is that thing? What the hell is that? Its head is on fire. Oh god. Quietly await your chance. Combat is not an option. They literally changed the game here. This is wild. Carrying required ahead. Scratching the undergrowth. The ultimate camouflage. Oh, it sensed me. I don't like this. Am I ready? I don't think so. Jesus.
Yeah. So in my experience, the sign that's losing always says the polls aren't right. And Trump, in fact, at a recent rally was like, "We don't like the fake polls." And he's like, "Well, we like him now. We didn't like him in 2020." And I'm like, "Yeah, there you go. Verbal diarrhea." He said what's actually on his mind, and what every candidate always says, which is when the polls are having winning, they say polls are great. When they're losing, they say polls are BS, and they don't believe him. Biden just said in that interview that apparently he doesn't believe in any polls. On the other hand, it's true that you got to get to the average of polls. You could have an outlier, like so, for example, Nevada. Biden's losing by 12 in one poll, but in the last poll, the Bloomberg poll that Wick quoted, he's only losing by 3. So which one is it? Well, when you have greater data sets, and it is actually science, it gets much closer to reality. And in my experience, are they perfect? Of course not. But are they generally accurate? Yes. So if you're, pinning your hopes on every poll is wrong, that is definitely the wrong direction to go. You'll be terribly disappointed on election night.
Zlin, you're
So
justified.
much better to live in, again, the fact-based world and adjust to the facts rather than hoping that the facts are wrong.
Okay. $10 from Doobie. Question for Jenk. I agree with your read of the current situation. That being said, if Biden does not drop out and we're left with Biden versus Trump, would you encourage your viewers to vote for him?
So this is what I do in every election. I wait to see how things are going early on. We're a news organization. We interview all the independent candidates as well. And I've already interviewed Jill Stein, Cornel West, RFK Jr. I know a lot of media says, don't let anyone ever hear about them. I don't agree. And if they were to, and if there was a candidate in there that I really liked and they surged and they got into second place, now we're having a completely different conversation. But the reality is at the end, it's usually the Democrat versus the Republican, right? And so now, not all the time in our lifetimes, Ross Perot had a real shot at it, right? But I'm going to vote for the person who has the best chance of defeating Donald Trump. And if you're MAGA out there, or you're much more importantly, you're an independent out there and you're wondering why, the guy already tried a coup. He already said, I don't believe in this democracy. He already lost and said, I'm not giving up power. I'm going to pretend that I won the election. And he did a fake elector scheme. I cannot have that guy get back into power. The most important election is 2028, but we've got to get there and we've got to have that election. So I will definitely vote against Donald Trump and hence for the candidate that is doing the best against them on election day. And I'll tell my audience that's what I'm doing because I'm always honest with them.
Wonderful. I'll get through these rapid fire. They're just more like questiments than anything else. Normal America with Rob Knorr says for $10, I like Wick and Destiny, but must call out them and Dems and their media. They all knew about Biden's declining mental health and gaslit for years. They should have never be trusted again on anything. Thank you for the $10, but That's not true. $10 from the Alex Kirsch Project. Many congratulations to Wick for this panel.
Hey,
Continue to support
LB.
this fine gentleman. Jenk, always been a fan of TYT. $10 more from Parallax. Ignore Rob. Good panel. Good guess. Okay. $5 from Testicle Johnson. I'm hearing a lot of problems from Wu and Jenk, but not a lot of solutions. No alternative strat. No alternative candidate. Thanks for contributing. Any
I
response?
don't think that's true.
No, that's not remotely true. I love your brother, but listen to what we're saying. Go have an open convention, have the delegates decide like they have
I have not
for
seen
most
the
of the
latest
conventions in
tier two.
American history, and then I'll support that candidate. And there's tons of great Democratic candidates. I'm actually in the camp that where I believe in the Democratic Party a lot more than I think the pro-Biden people do. I think we have candidates that are way better than Joe Biden. Again, Andy Beshear won in deep red state of Kentucky twice. On that alone, he's very, very, very likely to be a much better candidate than Joe Biden. And again, he's going to be way more conservative than I like in my policies. We're trying to make sure there's an election in 2028. So let's get the strongest candidate there is. Whitmer is very likely stronger. Josh Shapiro is smart. By the way, J.B. Pritzker, not only stronger and fairly popular in Illinois, now it's not a swing state, but he's got about he's got several $1 billion that he could put into the race himself if he wants. So there's a lot of super strong candidates, and that give us a much higher percentage of beating Trump.
Okay.
Why? Hold on, just kidding. Why do you keep lying and saying most of the conventions in American history? It's incredibly abnormal to primary your own candidate. Why do we keep saying? Why do you keep alluding to that like most conventions are multiple people
Good
competing?
sleep,
That's
Dragonfly.
generally not the case when you have
first
your
of
own
all-
incumbent, right?
All right, I'm gonna let go that you said lying. We're disagreeing over facts.
Yeah,
So
Destiny is
most of the
deliberately trying
conventions
to
were where
provoke Jack
delegates
here.
decided until 1972, and they changed the rules. So until 1972, the delegates would go, and sometimes, like Hubert Humphrey, didn't even run in the primaries, and they selected him. And now I like the new system better, where the voters vote. But in this case, we obviously have an unusual situation where the primaries already happened, but most of the Democratic voters now realize, oh my God, or a giant chunk of them do, oh my God, this might not be the right guy. But even that scenario is not relevant, because the only scenario that's relevant is when if Joe Biden drops out. And then at that point, like most of the conventions, we would let the delegates decide.
So prior to the 70s, it was ordinary for parties to primary their president?
No, wait, you're talking about two different things, Destiny.
No,
You're
you said
talking
that it'd
about
be
whether there should
normal,
be a
it'd be
primary
ordinary
or
for
what the
delegates to decide. Yeah, but obviously, if you have an incumbent and you're not running anybody against them, the delegates are probably going to decide to vote for your incumbent. So prior to the 70s, you're saying it was ordinary for delegates to make decisions of not their incumbent, that was an ordinary thing?
First of all, that's not what I said. I said that the delegates voting at the convention was incredibly ordinary. That's literally the rules, and that's a stone cold fact. But if you want to change it to the question that you're asking, there were plenty of primaries, including the famous one in 1968, which would have been successful. It pushed out Lyndon Johnson. We had Bobby Kennedy as the candidate, and he almost certainly would have won, except that he got assassinated. So, but even in that convention, they voted for people that were in the primary, the people that weren't in the primary. And yes, they had a bold primary against a sitting, very unpopular president, and that president did the right thing. This president is not doing the right thing.
Okay. $100 from Pondering Politics to ask this. Jenk, as the only journalist on the panel, how important is it to you to avoid creating/contributing to false equivalencies between the parties and candidates? What about Destiny's point that disproportionate coverage at the expense of more important issues like SCOTUS?
Yeah, but guys, you don't watch the Young Turks. We do cover that, and we kick the living crap out of Trump all the time. And we don't do it for propaganda reasons. We do it because he keeps saying crazy things. He keeps doing crazy things, and they're always in the news. And I mean, I don't know anybody who's been tougher on the Supreme Court than me. Their Citizens United decision destroyed this country. Even before that, their Bellotti and Buckley v. Vallejo decisions, activist justices that are basically overturning our democracy. I wrote a whole book about it. Justice is coming. So we cover all those issues. We cover foreign policy issues. We covered the Labour victory in England, in the UK just yesterday. No, we cover it proportionally. In fact, if you were a MAGA viewer, you'd be like, that's not fair. You guys disproportionately cover the crazy things Trump is saying. No, it's not disproportionate. It's proportionate to what they're doing in the news. And for Trump, it's oftentimes crazy land.
So if we were to go through your Twitter, for example, we would say you denigrating MAGA, Trump, etc., about as much as you do Biden. Would that be a claim you'd make?
So there are different platforms for different things. So, for example, in YouTube community, that's basically our community. We communicate with them in, in ways that they're familiar with, etc. And there, I'm not trying to reach journalists. I'm not trying to reach politicians, etc. So if you look at our YouTube channel of the videos that we do, that's our bread and butter. That's 90% of what we do. You will see that yes, we are disproportionately against Trump, and over the last, now starting in 2015, over the last 9 years, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of videos we have made against Trump because he's earned it, right? If you look at Twitter, yes, over the scope of those same 9 years, not close, massively anti-Trump. Recently, I'm saying that Biden is our worst candidate. That's hot in the news. Let's pick a stronger candidate. So if you look at it, you'll see a lot of things saying Biden's not the right candidate for the Democratic Party. And I think that makes sense given that Twitter reaches journalists and politicians that can make a difference so that we can have a better chance of beating Trump.
Okay, gang, I know I haven't gotten to all the super chats, but I want to make sure we respect everyone's time. I will read them after they go,
Yeah,
but I want to give everyone here a chance to have a closing statement.
Don't
final
say I never
thoughts,
do anything for you
and
guys.
then to kind of, if they need to go, they got to go. I don't want to hold them hostage, right? But if you've enjoyed this content, gang,
Oh, man,
we
it
do
kicked
talks
me
like
all
this
the way
all the
back
time.
here,
Hit that like button if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the show. We got some great
Oh, I have
content
to
coming
go
up for you next
through that
week. But I
entire
want to hear
ordeal
some closing
again.
thoughts and from all the panelists here, and tell people where they can find you if they don't know about you already. And I'll toss it first to Brianna, and then we'll end with Destiny. Go ahead, Brianna.
I'll be super quick. I just want to win this thing. I don't give a shit who our candidate is. Cenk, I love you. You're my friend. But one of the reasons I was, I was kind of silent when you were running for president. It was, because I was running a pack and I couldn't coordinate with you. But also, it's like, I just want to win. I'm terrified of Donald Trump. I'm terrified of what would happen at the Supreme Court. I just want to win this thing. I do not care. And a serious issue has been raised about Biden being able to win this thing. If we're going to continue with him, what I need to see from the party is a serious plan to turn this around. The fact that, Biden basically hid for a week and then did a 22-minute interview does not spark joy with me. It does not give me confidence. So, if we switch to a candidate, it is going to be a hell of a lot of work. We're going to have to canvass, we're going to have to donate, we're going to have to give money, we're going to have to push back on bad narratives. It is going to be a free-for-all. So my final call on this panel tonight is no matter what happens in the next few weeks, we must win this thing, and I hope everyone will work alongside me.
Okay, thank you for being here. Where can people find you if they want to find you?
Just look for me on Twitter. That's Brianna Wu.
Great. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you.
Of course.
Cenk Uygur, please, final thoughts.
Twitter, putting her
Yep.
best
So
foot,
first of all, people can find me at tyt.com, of course, but you could also see Young Turks on almost any platform. Just type in Young Turks or TYT, and obviously on YouTube under Young Turks as well. And so, look, we started talking about how Joe Biden, and this is a topic that comes up often, Joe Biden won the last time around. That's a point that Destiny made earlier in the debate. But that's like saying the Patriots won 4 years ago, so they're going to win this time. No, it's a different team. And in this case, Joe Biden is a very different person. We ran clips of Joe Biden in 2020 and then 2024 on the show last night, 2016, and then you go back further. Joe Biden in the past has looked very dynamic. This is not the same Joe Biden. He does not look dynamic. 80% of the country thinks that he's in mental decline. They did not think that back in 2020. And 2020, when he won by 44,000 votes in 3 swing states. That's, even though he won a giant popular vote victory, the Electoral College, he barely won. And he was at 52% approval rating. Now he's 16 points lower. He's at 36% approval rating. No incumbent has ever won when they're in the 30s in an election year. So if you think that Joe Biden is going to do a miraculous 16-point comeback, okay, stick with Joe Biden and think that that's because you think that's the best chance that the Democratic Party is in defeating Trump. But I think that is very, very wrong. And unfortunately, This last week has proven me correct, as I've been saying that for 9 months, because we all have eyes and ears, and most importantly, no matter what you think, you have to be concerned about what the American people think, because they're the ones voting, and they're showing it to you in the favorability rating, in the polling, and in every other available data we have. Joe Biden is our weakest candidate, not our strongest candidate. We have a process to pick the strongest candidate, and it can be done at the convention. There's no reason we shouldn't do it. We should please support a different candidate that has a much higher percentage chance of beating Donald Trump.
Okay, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Check him out, gang. I'm sure you already know who he is, gang. Last but certainly not least, Destiny, please.
Listen, I think that Joe Biden is just setting up for an epic debate performance in round 2. Okay, he was flubbing this one so that he's the underdog. He's going to come in, he's going to demolish Trump. And you know what? Even if he doesn't, Democrats rig elections anyways. We're just going to use more mail-in ballots and take it no matter what, or stuff the ballot boxes, whatever we have to do. Okay, we'll get it done. They'll be making the film 5,000 Mules after the next election. All right. Realistically, though, I'm not, I'm not like a huge Biden loyalist. Like if there legitimately was a candidate that seemed like there was less volatility around him and like this guy could definitely do it, then maybe. But I think that people downplay how much volatility there would be introducing a new candidate at this stage. There's just so much uncertainty. There are so many things that could go wrong. You could swap about it. Maybe it'd be amazing, maybe not. But my position has been and will continue to be, unless he has like a massive, mistake at another debate or the polls start to slip significantly, I think you gotta ride this one out.
Okay. Thank you, all of you, for being here. If you need to go, I release you. Okay, I'm freeing the hostages. The IDF has come in, destroyed like 5 whole villages, and now all 3 of you are free if you need to go. I'm going to read my super chats because people have paid me good money to read stuff on the screen, okay? But other than that, thank you for being here, and maybe we can do this again sometime. Thank you.
Thank you, Wick. Thank you, Brianna and Destiny. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Let's hope we win.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
There's a part of me that wants to believe that Cenk still believes in what he's doing. He's just got really regressive views on gender and sexuality. I have a bad feeling about the UN speech that Biden's gonna give. I think he'll be fine. Jesus Christ. These rats. The rats are dynamite. None of those people were good people. No, not really, no. How you doing, chat? We've been going for almost 3 hours. And you know what? We're just gonna take that down. We're gonna turn this off. There we go. You good? Hell yeah. How's chat doing tonight? I asked it at the same time. It's okay. Great minds think alike. Let's see here. Actually, real quick. We're gonna see if we can upgrade our spirit summons, because I would love to not use the jellyfish. Put on some tunes. Hey!
Asterisk, 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 asterisk it. We need a palate cleanser after that brain rot. BW ABW 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 ABW
Oh,
Rough day for me. Thanks for the streams.
Winby, I'm sorry that your day has been rough, but I hope that coming here helps a little bit. And Trans Girl Jade, thank you for the $10 dono. Winby, thank you for the $5 dono. And look at where we're at. We are at 7 out of 10. ABW, ABW, AB, ABW. There we go. And you know what? We're full screening this. We're full screening it, baby. You guys ready? I'm excited. It's been ages since we watched this, and I quite enjoy it. The spookiness. All right. Mandela Catalog Volume 1. Get ready for some spookiness.
We are currently receiving countless reports regarding unidentified hostile organisms that we will refer to as alternates.
Yes, this is the Los
Until we have a
Spookies.
complete understanding of the threat, it is important to stay home, lock all doors and windows, and have access to a loaded firearm or other ranged weapon at all times. You will know if an alternate exists based solely on their physical characteristics. If you see another person that looks identical to you, run away and hide. If you see a person with any sort of biologically impossible characteristic, run away and hide. If an alternate manages to enter your home, refrain from any kind of communication or contact. These intelligent life forms utilize elements of psychological warfare to take advantage of their victims. While we heavily discourage any kind of contact or communication with an alternate, we make excuses for attempts at executing them yourself.
We learned this is a bad idea. Don't try and kill it.
Hey, it's Caesar. I hope it's not too late. No, it's fine, don't worry. What's up, are you alright? Yeah, it's not me, it's my mom. She's knocked out cold and I have no idea why. I'm on my way to the ER, but could you do me a favor? Yeah, of course. What is it? I just need you to come over and turn on the cameras we have set up. You know the ones that we installed after we were robbed? Oh, yeah. Mind if I ask why? Well, she screamed really loud right before I found her on the ground. I just... Well, do you have
what the broadcast told us it is?
Yeah, that's the weird part. Maybe she saw something? I don't know.
Alright, shouldn't be too bad. I'm just gonna switch them on and get out of there though. You know how I feel about your house.
Yeah, that's fine. One last thing. Try to get a good view of the back hallway, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Alright, I gotta go. I'm almost at the hospital. Thank you.
Sounds like a bad idea. The analog horror is so good, chat. Like, you actually put the analog in. It's great. Transcript? Oh. Yeah, subtitles aren't available, I'm sorry. Usually I have them on by default. How long is this one? This one is another 10-ish minutes, 12 minutes.
Will you go, Mark?
Also, the sound mixing in this is just phenomenal. Wait, is this that Ring video? You see it? You die in 7 days? Yeah, kind of. It followed me home, Caesar. I don't want to see what it is on the other side. It's been days and nobody has come to help me.
I have a gift for you. I have a present. I have a surprise. Your middle finger is full of fleas.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Where you go, Mark?
Yeah.
You fucking bastard!
It's a creepy series. Bad decision, Mark. Do you like how it's communicating with us?
A situation may occur where the local 911 dispatchers run out of operators to handle calls, so they are given to the police department instead.
Yeah, trans girl Jade, it's creepy as fuck.
When police attention is needed, send available personnel to the address provided by the caller. When there is a fire-related emergency, contact the neighboring fire department with the provided address, along with a brief description of the event. When the caller has a medical-related emergency, immediately contact the Mandela Community Hospital, where their reception will take control of the line.
Do not help a caller reporting a home intrusion, no matter how frantic their screams. Calmly reassure the caller that help is on the way. End the call when they stop responding.
We thank you for taking the time to learn by viewing the
Metaphysical awareness disorder is a severe mental illness that has seen a sudden return in recent months. MAD is the result of exposure to verbal information that is
yes,
not
the debate
desired
is
to be known.
so over. Never again. Never again.
The rate of death by suicide in patients diagnosed with MAD is 97%. But don't worry, the remaining 3% makes it worth trying to reverse the delusion. Avoiding development of MAD is the first step to being safe. It is recommended to avoid excessively frequent religious practice, as well as any belief in unnecessary philosophical implications. Always remember that looking after your friends, family, and loved ones is a key factor for maintaining mental stability.
Yeah, just, you know, your average toddler stress assessment. Boy, this is spooky to watch again. What is this? It's an analog horror series. Vampire. We've watched that movie on stream.
Tomorrow, Mr. Havisham will take you to your grandfather, and you will live with him at the castle. But I shall not go with you.
Mandela Elementary School. Everything's gonna be fine. Daddy didn't check under my bed last night. So I went to Mommy's room. What's analog about it? Usually just basically working with older, more analog forms of media as opposed to digital media. That's kind of the origin of the term, though the actual analogness of any of it might vary by quite a bit. Then I saw the man in the corner. Him. And then I fell asleep. The end. You know, just your average run-of-the-mill man in the corner business. Scares me every goddamn time, dog. I forget about it. That sound, man, it fucking gets me. Holy shit. There's a door right there. I know the knocking was in the video. It just scares the shit out of me, guys.
I am inside your home.
Was that on the video? Yeah.
Let's face it, us parents know how time-consuming it is to keep an eye on our young children. While working is essential, they must receive attention from us so that they know we love them too. Some of us may rely on key things that keep them entertained, like toys, walks in a stroller,
It got me so good.
or
Trans
even
Girl Jade.
cartoons
My
on the
blood
family
pressure's
television.
still going down.
Be cautious with what channels your children view on the television, since you never know what harmful content they may be seeing. Your children may be viewing elements of violent content, sexual content, graphic content, scary imagery.
If you hear your child screaming or crying in front of the television, wait until your child stops making noise before entering the room. You will...
God damn, this is dark. I forgot how dark this is. Jesus. This is weird ass shit. It really is.
Local authorities have issued an immediate safety warning to multiple counties.
It's a very
Please await
creepy
further
way of
instruction.
showing a demon invasion.
As of now, a total of
3,426.
children have gone missing within the following counties: Bythorn County, Berkshire County, Mandela County, Yonder County. Deter vulnerable children away from any television or medium that can project possibly frightening imagery.
Remember similar safety alerts running on TV about hurricanes? Yeah, no, that's where like it's taking influence from public broadcasts. Don't like those eyes. Don't like it. Yeah, I'm good. It's so creepy, dog.
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try it.
Noah went out of his house for some fresh air.
God, the sound effects. Fuck, man. I'm on my guard this time. You're not catching me unaware. This series is scary, guys. Hmm. Oh god. Hmm. Hmm. I do not care for this. Seems like you were doing a bad thing and you should feel bad. This is such a weird stuff to wake up to. Yeah, it fucking is. Hmm. No, I'm good. You don't have to finish coming up. No, I'm good. Thanks though. Thanks, creepy poltergeist demon. It's a new friend? No. Hmm. Oh god.
Why do you try to escape while you fear? Noel, you will be punished for resisting my message. You will bring another creature on the boat. You won't notice it at first. Just wait, Noel. Wait until you start to feel something. A change happening in your mind. You won't even realize it has taken form until you see it. When you see it, there is no return. It will give you a message. It will be your last message.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
It's so good. It's so good, guys. Is that the end? Oh, no, no, no. Amber Brains. There's like a 5-year, 2 or 3 year set of time between what we just watched and now. Actually, no, sorry. Yeah, this is from 2 years ago. There are 5 volumes. You guys have watched volume 1. And, yeah, and it's assorted, between season specials. But volume 5 just came out. I have not seen it yet. And I'm very excited to. But we will have to try and do that on a new day because I'm exhausted and it is almost 4 o'clock in the morning. Next time you guys see me, I'm going to have fancy hair. So anyway. Damn, no more. Yeah, we'll have to do it on a new day. Sorry. I am so tired. Good night, you lovely little critters. I will see you tomorrow. Well, actually, I might not stream tomorrow. But I hope you all enjoy your day nonetheless. Now that we're done with that video, does anyone else hear knocking on their door? Yes, but I tell myself it's merely the ravings of a deranged mind. Hope you rest well. Thank you, folks. Good night, Mellowfire. I am so sleepy. But I will see you guys later, and I think next stream we'll do more of like a serious stream. I've been really wanting to play Elden Ring, so we just did a couple of chill streams today. But next time we'll do a serious one, where I give you 110% of my attention. Okay? Remember to say goodnight to the monsters in your closet. Yeah, you've got to kiss them on the forehead. They're good little beans. Or you could watch Jack Glamour Size. Yes, I'll do my makeup and then we'll all work out together. I know, Banana Brains. I like horror a lot. It's one of my favorite movie genres. But anyway, I have to go. Good night, everybody. Hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, like the stream. I don't know, do the things. Bye.